I end up pointing this way because I'm gonna be facing you anyway. What am I doing? Like pointing it that way? Like we're gonna stare at that rectangle over there instead of each other. That's good for conversation.
What?
Whereas like staring at a rectangle instead of each other. Like this is why this podcast is better half the time. Is just because we're in a room.
Yeah.
As opposed to all the online podcasts that I've done and other people have done, where it's just like shit's lost in the process.
You can't see each other, so you tend to just ignore each other.
It's why couch co-op Let's Plays are so fun.
Yeah.
Like it's so great to like when we had Joe to just all group up for like Overcooked and shit like that.
Yeah, it's really fun to be able to just like sit together and run off of each other's reactions and enjoyment.
Which I was declined. I was rejected. I forgot that feature exists.
Okay.
Because like for those who don't know, YouTubers and stuff like that are so widespread now that like there's like websites just for like matchmaking, the giving out of keys to YouTubers and shit like that, basically, because that is such a whole thing. And you always generally it's like you get approved or you don't get approved, or people you didn't even ask send you something and you can choose to accept it.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't accept it, like the key can still get claimed by other people or whatever. Like there's like a pool. I requested Overcooked 2 and got rejected.
I don't know why.
And when I look at the Overcooked 2 page where the request button used to be, or the request pending button used to be, it just says rejected. And I didn't know that was on the site. Like it's a whole feature I'm learning about because Overcooked 2 was like, that guy, fuck that guy. I don't know why.
Yeah, why would they deny you given that we not only did we play it, we did a 3-player co-op.
We have fun.
We beat the entire game.
Yay!
We didn't just do like a quick, we played it.
Overcooked is really fun.
It was fun. And then they're just like, no, fuck you, specifically.
So I guess I'll be paying for Overcooked as it turns out, if we ever can even get a group of people to play with. Because I feel like I wouldn't want to play with just 2 people.
Yeah,
but the new one's online.
Okay.
Finger guns. But all of my friends besides you tend to get irritated and frustrated very quickly by games that are actually hard and require coordination. And I don't know how that would go.
Well, we've got one local person we can probably wrangle.
Yeah.
We can just go grab Billy.
We'll just have to get Joe from Japan. He'll play Japanese Overcooked, where it has a slightly different skin and all the language is different, but he can still matchmake with us. And he'll just,
I don't think that's how it works.
And he'll just shout things at us in Japanese the entire time.
I definitely don't think that's how it will work.
How much does he speak Japanese? Because he teaches Japanese students English.
Yes.
But that's a whole thing that's confusing in its own right.
Well, so he teaches English.
Don't you just speak English and Japanese basically? I mean in English classes?
Yes. He only speaks English. He's not allowed to speak Japanese.
Exactly, which do you even need to know Japanese to teach English?
To some capacity.
I wonder.
I mean, you need to know Japanese to exist in a country where the default language is Japanese.
He was definitely cramming for a while there.
Yeah, well, he needed to cram to learn how to read, because reading is far more important than speaking. Because you can usually get away with English when speaking in a country, because English is the dominant language, deal with it, every other language isn't great. And so most countries support English as like a secondary default language. But reading does, like no one's going to build signs in English. No one's going to change their entire country's landscape to have English everywhere. So being able to read, hey, is that shop a ramen shop or is it a chiropractor? I'll never know. Like, it's kind of helpful to be able to read like ramen. Okay, that one doesn't say that. Probably not a ramen shop. Like,
that's the one word I needed to know to survive in Japan. I did it.
You mockingly say that. But that's literally the only word Kel learned before we went on our trip to Japan. Was ramen.
I assume he learned more when he moved there.
Well, he like is taking classes to learn Japanese. He showed me.
I'm actually a little jealous of how people learn English in Japan, where they just set you loose with somebody that speaks that language and you just have to figure it out for a while and just learn it that way. Yeah. Whereas in America, we're given an English speaking teacher who happens to know said language. Yeah. And they're basically never even from the country or culture. They're almost always just somebody who also learned in America how to speak that language. Yes. Basically.
It's usually, it's advised.
My German teacher was very much not German.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I don't know how Germans look by default, but I imagine they don't look like him. Like he does not exude German.
He's clearly from a different continent than Germans.
He's clearly from a more Pacific continent, not definitely not mainland Europe. It's not where his homeland is. But in the twist of fate, then we had an English teacher who was of French descent.
Oh yeah, there were actually a decent number of English teachers in our school, which is different from other people's English teachers because they're not teaching us English, like not traditional, like they're not teaching us how to speak English.
Yeah,
they're just furthering our awareness of how to like read and write.
They're teaching us grammar more than English,
or to an extent, English teachers teach you how to think, kind of, and how to formulate concepts and thoughts.
Yeah,
and
that's
express
true.
Yourself.
I guess it depends on the teacher you get. Some teachers are not
It's a combination of a combination of science and English teaches you how to think in school.
Yeah,
because you learn about the scientific method, and you also learn how to form arguments. And between those two things, that's how you actually build the forming blocks of how you express yourself. And nothing shows that more than talking to somebody who's not really along the way yet through that process.
Oh yeah,
and they're really early on in school, and they hop on Discord, and you're like, oh, you're like not developed yet.
Yeah,
and like we can't have a conversation in some ways.
Yeah, it's
so there's like a whole spectrum between like where we are and like when you have like a 4-year-old that's like trying to tell like a story.
Yeah,
when they make up a story, and it's like it's like every sentence is from a different universe and everything like that, and like
it doesn't flow together in any coherent capacity because they literally cannot fathom how to create a sentence that way.
They haven't learned like why people tell stories yet, even like that, or what the goal should even be, or where to go with it.
Children are
so just say words.
Children are, I would say, the creators of the telephone game. Because they are something, you can tell them anything and it will be warped into something magical by the end of it. Like if the moment that child goes and tells another child that story, it's completely never even remotely close to what you told them, because they don't have the ability to retell a story that way. They can memorize how to tell it, but they can't tell it. Like they can't tell that story because they don't understand how you built it. They don't understand I don't know.
No.
Science. School is very important, but it's also like a waste of time.
Speaking of storytelling, boons or curses and whatnot.
Okay.
Like I've got the ongoing D&D thing.
Yeah.
Which is like collaborative storytelling. And I've had like just like a magical moment with that.
Oh.
So like spoilers for our D&D thing, although it aired yesterday timeline wise, because this will come out on Thursday. So catch up on D&D real quick, or not. Or if you're like most of my audience, you probably have not been watching D&D, and it's a giant, terrifying total amount of time to invest, and they're like, no. And maybe this will be the spoiler that like gets, like people hear like a Game of Thrones spoiler and suddenly they want to watch Game of Thrones, then they've never done it.
No, but go. I can imagine
that just concept of like somebody.
I get the concept.
Somebody hears about a crazy thing happening further on in the story, and they're like, all right, now I kind of want to start this.
I just meant like a spoiler in Game of Thrones would never compel me to watch it.
Well, that's because you've already watched it.
I watched the first season, and the spoiler of the end of first season is what made me not want to watch it anymore.
Whereas that's actually the spoiler that gets many people to watch it, is they hear about that thing.
Why? That's the best. Okay, it's the best character, but
I know. Also, this is like, some people will either be mad at me or psyched that I did this. But I snuck also spoilers for The Last Jedi. I snuck the Leia scene into the D&D campaign.
Her flying through space? Okay.
I specifically crafted a sequence where I would be that character, more or less. Waking up inside of an exploded ship, inside of a force bubble, and flying to a hatch to then pass out for a while and recover later and all that, like note for note. But I sprinkled some Rick Sanchez in there to make it like nihilistic and horrible at the same time.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun. We're in my wheelhouse now because we're in a sci-fi campaign.
Yeah.
Because we blew up existence, kind of. Last chance to skip ahead, I guess. Actually, no. Actually, that was already. It's past. I already spoiled the end of Grave of Man.
Yeah.
So we're in space, and we switched from D&D 5e to Starfinder, which is the.
Oh, you actually like switched.
We switched engines, which is confusing, by the way.
Huh.
And one of the manifestations of that is that for the first few sessions, whenever I cast a spell, I choose a spell from 5e to try to cast, and then I open that level of spells from Starfinder, and I roll dice. So I cast instead of casting like whatever 5th level spell that my druid normally had in 5e, I cast a random 5th level spell from Pathfinder. This is where it gets even more confusing. We're playing in Starfinder, but our characters are Pathfinder characters because of the fact that they're fantasy characters from D&D.
Yeah.
And you can't just make them Starfinder characters.
Yeah.
So we're using the Pathfinder equivalents. So I'll just like roll the dice and I'm like, I'm going to cast a fireball. It's like, all right, I conjured a whip of spiders. Which is a thing in Pathfinder, which I'm horrified by.
Why do you
can either hit people with a whip of spiders, or when you throw the whip of spiders, it turns into a swarm of spiders. I'm like, who made that idea? I'm horrified.
I like the concept that you could be hitting somebody and it's like, it's not working. Fuck it. And you just throw the whip and it turns into
swarms
like a
on them.
swarm.
Which, by the way, this is my second time doing that, because a moment before then, I tried to cast a different spell and instead conjured the whip of centipedes.
Why are there whips of multiple insects? Okay, that's
RNG was being very unkind to me.
That's not creative. That's just kind of concerning why you have a bottle of insects that you just dip a whip into and they all attach to it and you're like, ha ha.
But I got to use it for comic horrible effect at one point, because at one point, not knowing how spaceships work, I wandered into like an escape pod and launched it. And just launched myself out of that session, and I just watched as everyone else played for a while because I was gone.
Okay,
I had been launched away in an escape pod. But the ongoing joke at that point was that I was just eating. I was doing the druid equivalent of Nerd's Rope, because I was eating a whip of spiders. Like I would just conjure a whip of spiders and just devour it. And and being a high level druid, I'm immune to poison, so it's not like the spiders can hurt me. So I'm just eating, and I'm like, it's druid Nerd's Rope. It's just the worst image, because I just was left to my own devices to think of horrible ideas while I'm watching everyone else do their campaign.
Yeah, and
I'm in space on my own, sleeping and eating basically. This is completely unrelated to the Leia thing.
Yeah.
What happened is we got a new player, Durf, we brought in, and he doesn't know anything about anything basically for campaigns, and he just does weird, unexpected things because he doesn't fully contextualize what he's doing anyway. So we were in a spaceport for pirates, and he shot his own net onto his own ship, which was seen as an attack. So the port shot us like that one ship at the beginning of Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
just blew it up in the port. So they blasted us out of the thing, but it was when everyone else in the party was already off the ship except me and Durf. So it was just us. So we did a whole session where we went off to my aunt's birthday party.
Yeah.
The day they were doing D&D, because I wasn't going to be in that session, and they did all this whole pirate adventure, which I don't know anything about still, because I don't watch the episodes I'm not in, because it just confuses me about player knowledge. My character doesn't know what happened there, so I'll just not watch those parts. And that makes me not know those things. And it works real well because Shell tends to not tell us anything about what she experiences separately from us. So I just continue to not know the plot of the campaign for large stretches of it.
It sounds like you're really part of this. It's
a fun
adventure.
time. Well, what happened here in my Leia moment, that is I wake up in the wreckage of our obliterated spaceship.
Okay.
And Durf is dead. And everything else is dead.
He's already dead?
And I'm there.
Isn't he new?
And I wake up in what I was thinking of as being like Leia's force bubble thing that was defending her from space, so she could fly away. But in universe, its life bubble is an actual spell that druids have, which makes it so they can literally breathe in a vacuum and stuff like that. They actually do have that spell that Leia had.
How often are vacuums existing for druids?
There could be vacuums. D&D players are very inventive and do fucked up things, like, say, create nuclear fission and destroy your campaign. So you have to be prepared for these things. Like when I did that.
Have you
heard about the nuclear fission incident and how I did that?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know if you knew about that context already. Yeah. When I compressed a monster so small that it blew up the planet.
Well, didn't you throw it into a pit?
Yeah.
That then basically blew up the core of the planet, thus destroying the planet?
Nah. I just threw it downstairs. It was fine. It wasn't like a weird hole to the center of the it wasn't red matter from Star Trek.
Okay.
Like it's going to destroy the Vulcan homeworld. Spoilers for Star Trek. The one from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now.
I was like,
wow, that's old now already.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Welcome.
But I needed a way to propel myself. I could have done the boring way because I do have these silly things called Warp Jordans, which were a joke item from the beginning of the campaign, which is I have teleporting shoes. But I don't overuse them. Instead, and I had a more fun idea, a more Rick Sanchez horrible loss of life idea of way to do this, which is that rewind. We found out that Durf's character Fleur, which he named to be easy to remember, apparently. He's like a weird fuzzball creature that lives on the ship with a scent that has like an AI that runs everything.
Okay,
and it basically just keeps him as a pet. And slash as like its eyes and stuff like that. It's like it's the robot. It's almost like it's keeping the AI sane as having a stupid pet sentient idiot creature.
Good thing the ship's gone.
Because Fleur is just the dumbest creature.
Okay.
We found like scratchings here and there that indicate that like there's been several Fleurs, like tons of them. So like Fleur himself is like the 14th Fleur or something like that. Like it's like he's completely.
Is the ship like cloning them or is it
hyper disposable? We made jokes that like he's because Fleur likes fish for some reason, and we're like, but we're in space. What the fuck? And then we like came up with like a hybrid between the Artemis spaceship simulator and Dishonored. Where like, you know how like Dishonored's obsessed with like whale oil and all this stuff. Like everywhere you go, there's like whale carcasses and like fish oil for fuel and all this shit. So we got this idea that Fleur is obsessed with capturing fish, not only just because he likes eating them, but because they also feed it into the ship to create the future Fleur clones in the matter thing. Is that the biomass comes from like these space fish that they capture, and that's why he's so obsessed with catching them. So when the ship explodes, everyone's dead except me and my force bubble, and there's this cube, this indestructible cube thing.
Okay.
And I press a button, and like a baby Fleur comes out. And it's like fully clothed, and it's got its little jetpack and everything, like Fleur always does. So they're just born and all this shit.
Okay.
And I'm like, ha, I just summon 3 more, and I've got 4 like unconscious like baby Fleurs just in my arms, and I turn on their jetpacks to propel myself towards the pirate ship to get to the port. And just to make it horrible and to joke about the disposableness of one of our fellow party members' characters, I have the because I'm telling this all in a flashback of how I got on the ship and how I reunited with the party. I said the pirates' defense is activated and shot at us, and like that you have like the additional Fleurs being picked off, like the R2 units in Phantom Menace, where they're just all dying one by one. Like, you gotta turn on the force field, and like, oh no, shields, the shields are down. We're total sitting ducks now, and it's like, like just all the different R2 units are getting picked up, but those are the unconscious Fleur babies. And I hit the wall. And a little too hard when I get to the porthole, and I just drop one, like that's not dead. It just goes just off into space, and I'm like, hope that doesn't come up later. Just having fun with this dumb idea. I go sneak into the pirate docking bay, and I just sneak onto one of their ships and go sleep in one of the like the bedding quarters just to hide away because I've had a near-death experience, and I'm like out of all energy sources, basically.
Okay.
I'm like out of spells, out of hit points, everything's just fucked, and I can't like go exploring or anything right now. So that's when they find me, as they find me unconscious to act, because like this is like a 5-minute story that shows what happened during the hours of campaign that I was going for. They find me in the docking bay, and I tell the story, and then I open the I open the overhead compartment like it's a plane. And like 2 more Fleurs like fall out, like the ones that made it through with me. And here's my fun moment is like the ongoing thing is like the dungeon master will come up with these ideas, and the players will fuck everything up every time. Yeah, like they will always never let the campaign go the way that they want it to go, and it always is a shit show. And I got to have that moment because for a brief moment here, I was the storyteller. For once, I was making up the story that people just had to kind of accept or whatever. And whereas normally I'm one of the people that's reacting to the thing because I'm not the DM. But out of all this thing, my whole goal here is that I wanted to salvage, because I thought that the cube thing was going to be lost to time. And I'm like, well, we've got to make Fleur confront this horrible identity dissonance problem of realizing that he's a clone and there's other clones of him that exist at the same time.
Isn't he just a Meeseeks at that point?
Yeah, like,
just press a button.
You were like just dealing, like having him deal with that level of crazy of like, oh shit, I'm not the only one, and there's other ones too, and they're all alive. And what the fuck does this mean? Like I was setting up a moment of like a crazy sci-fi dilemma. Yeah, Fleur immediately just absorbs the other 2.
He just like absorbs him into himself,
like reverse mitosis, like just
okay.
like that one .io game where where that was like feeding frenzy and shit, and I'm like, all right, not on the list of things I was expecting, and it's like he has no idea how to play the game at all, but immediately he's doing the role playing parts great of just weird, unexpected, crazy shit, and like forming a consistent character out of that shit.
Huh.
And it was interesting just to have my brief micro dungeon master moment where I could inject Last Jedi into the campaign of all the people that hate Last Jedi, and also just to have my plans foiled instantly. Just instantly, like I'm like, oh man, what's gonna happen when he encounters the other Fleurs? And just it's over in a second. Like he just absorbs them. I'm like, what? Well, things are happening.
My usual approach to D&D stuff is usually to be as hands off with everything as possible.
As the dungeon master, or as a player.
Just
what does hands off mean?
I mean, as in like with the story, I kind of just go with it, more or less.
Oh, like you just go with the party.
I don't have
gonna happen.
I just don't have expectations. So if someone, if like we walk into a room and there's like 4 gargoyles, I don't go like, oh, what can these gargoyles do? What's gonna happen? I just go like, well, I guess we'll just kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Find a way. Like I don't have, because I don't want to be disappointed when I have this like in my mind, like, oh, this could be great, and then someone goes,
then players do insane things,
yeah,
and you're like, what? Like we were supposed to, like they freed a space pirate from captivity on another space pirate ship, like a rival one, like those warring clans or whatever the hell, and they're doing this whole introduction and explanation of like how he's gonna like navigate them through this asteroid belt to his HQ, and like all this other shit was gonna happen, but like everyone has to leave the bridge because like they can't see the secret way to the base and all this other shit. And I was gone for that entire conversation. My character wasn't there, so at one point I was like just curious.
What are you pointing at?
Oh, they're gone. Goodbye. I was quieting down for an interruption because I was like, oh, we're going to get a visitor. And then he just walked away. I'm like, oh, I guess he put something down. His hands were both swaying, so he wasn't carrying a package. I don't know what that was. Did you see him?
No.
Oh, you didn't see him walk out either?
No.
Oh. Well, we're just sitting here with an open window, and the guy just walked up to his front door and left.
Maybe he was going to try to rob me, and then realize that someone was home.
Shit, people are home in the middle of the day. What are they, losers?
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty accurate statement. You should probably not be at home at this time. This is good break-in time.
Since Drez wasn't there for the entire conversation about the whole secret base shit,
yeah,
he just got curious, so he teleported into the room. And immediately, the pirate attacked me, abandoned the ship, stole Bird's new like mech suit that he had got off the ship, and like fled. And I had completely sabotaged Wander's entire plans about how we were gonna like meet up with these space pirates and all that. And then we just force our way in anyway. We find our way into the space base anyway, and we're like docking, and like almost certainly there's gonna be like some sort of conflict going into here because we're not even supposed to be here. And then Fleur fucking shoots the net thing and gets our ship destroyed. Like we cannot, like it's every step of the way we cannot get to the place that the campaign's designed to go to. And like he's just like at this point you just have to be resigned to it because we're like 80 episodes in.
I mean, a DM has a tough job because they can be as liberal as they want with certain situations. Like say Durf shooting the net could just be seen as humorous, and the pirates don't blow it up. Why would they blow up the ship? It wasn't a threat. Even if they shot a net, it's not like the net can do anything inside the HQ.
That's an opinion some people have had twice. About that particular session is that like the consequences of people's actions were so severe that it was like almost overkill. Where he could have hand waved either one of the ones away because like like I went into the bridge and that led to a catastrophic betrayal.
Which is fine because you didn't know there was context to that situation, which is like the guy did not want anyone to know. So, but
the response to entering the bridge and the response to the net were also like maximum severity responses on the spectrum of responses you could have.
I feel like since you weren't there in the beginning, the pirate would have just naturally been like, "Hey, could you get the fuck out? Like, I don't want anybody to know." And you would have just been like, "Okay," and just walked away.
I mean, it's just been the funniest shit. seeing the most bizarre outcomes
that's the
happen.
thing. It's like a DM. It's like entertainment is the value, so they need to like do whatever is entertaining to some capacity, even if
we had a part where there's just like a crack in space time or whatever, like the one from Doctor Who.
Yeah,
and all we were supposed to really do is try to like widen it and go through it and see what's past there and shit like that. Bird forcefully like jumps at it as hard as he can and like gets his arm cut off. And then that episode kind of just became about making Bird not die from his arm being gone, which is still gone. It's to this day, like now in the sci-fi series, he has like a robot arm because he permanently lost his arm that day. Like,
okay,
the severity of actions has been so all over the place. And whenever I think like, at first I thought it would be something that would be destructive towards the campaign, or I was worried about that.
Yeah,
is when I would be like thinking outside the box too widely and then crazy gear shifts happen. But now that's been happening for so long that I just assume it's okay at this point. So I just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Although sometimes it happens when I don't even mean for it to happen. Like we had a party wipe like 30 episodes in or something, because there was a whole part where Bird agreed to go save some wizard at the top of a tower somewhere, and I'm like, there's like a whole fucking army between here and there. This is a nightmare. And like this idiot's gonna get himself killed. Because especially at that point in the campaign, Bird's character was like the most useless jackass idiot man. That like he was like a suicidal baby man. It was insane.
Okay.
Like he's this giant bugbear. He's super strong and he can one shot all these different things. But like he's just doing like he will just do the insane thing in every situation. And like
so he's like active. He's like chaotically. Chaotically sabotaging at every point.
I don't even know. Like his plan to infiltrate the base was to wear all of the human-sized guard armor on his giant bugbear frame, and like just try to like stack armor until he could pass as a human, and then just try to walk in. You know, like,
okay, you could have like had a disguise spell put on you to make you look human. You could have had. There's a lot of better options besides.
But I'm like, I've got spider walk. I'll just walk up the tower. I'll just
Couldn't everyone walk up the tower?
Yep, that'd be a lot of cast of spider walk. Actually, I think spider walk doesn't affect multiple targets.
Oh.
And I think it's a concentration spell, which means you can't cast it more than once either.
Oh, okay.
So you're pretty much stuck with the one.
In any case, okay, then there's the solution.
But like, want to try to stop me?
What?
So first of all, I was splitting the party, and also I was wandering into parts of the map he hadn't even drawn. So like he was like sketching shit out rapidly, or just like guiding me by voice and shit like that at some point, because I was climbing up a tower that didn't exist in his assets basically. And he's like, he made up like a mysterious smooth substance along the walls that I couldn't spider walk on, and I couldn't get past.
Okay.
And like his defense is that that this was one of his big signals that I wasn't supposed to go this way and so on, and that's like I wasn't supposed to try to do all this shit.
But
for me as the player, I'm like, that's just an additional challenge for me to beat. So I'm like, Thorn Whip, and I Thorn Whipped onto the ledge past the smooth shit, and I was just climbing up on the rope and shit like that. Like I was fucking up for it, because this is what I always do with my druids. It's what I've done ever since when I was a druid in like Jake's campaign way back in the day. Is like I used druids to break all of the traps and things, because they're so
versatile.
They're so resourceful.
Yeah,
they're scary resourceful.
You can do like anything.
I could have just flown up there if I was higher level and had a flight form yet, but I didn't. I had like third level spells.
Yeah.
So I had like spider walk and thorn whip and shit like that, and they were enough. I got a lot of mileage out of the fact that you can do a gust of wind that's like a tornado of wind and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So that finally he has like a Cthulhu monster like poke his head out and like just zap me through the heart with a laser, and I just fall to my death. But that was when like we had a forced like season 1 finale, because he had to like come up with what the fuck to even do next in the story, because I got myself killed, Greg got himself killed while I wasn't babysitting him, and Alarin was like successfully infiltrating the enemy forces because they're human shaped, and was just wearing the armor and was just going in. So that's when he had me wake up as a dragon and shit like that. And then that was the first time I destroyed reality. I've done that a few times now.
I feel like
my response to that whole situation was I wake up on the floor as dragon, fly back up, and I kill the Lich guy that shot me, and I destroy the crystal on the... Because I guess the plot twist here was that the Lich guy was secretly the wizard we had to save. Was like, it was all a manipulation of manipulating our
What is he
idiot...
pulling a Final Fantasy boss where he's like, come help me, and then he's like, actually the fucking, I need you to help me take over the world, and he like kills you to try to do that?
He's like pretending to be some poor wizard that needs help from Greg when he's actually like the villain, basically. And so I kill him, and I like tail whip the shit out of the crystal until it shatters, and then it creates like an explosion that destroys the entire area and destabilizes gravity, and we get warped to a different reality for a while, and had to find our way back. I have been a little catastrophic towards the campaign.
I'm under the impression that it would be in Wander's best interest to stop hindering you. Because I feel like every time he comes up with a way to prevent you from doing something, you end up destroying it. That's your entire prerogative is like, I'm going to do a thing. And if someone just let you do the thing, it would be fine. You would just go about doing the thing. But when someone's like, you can't do that, you're like, oh, but I can. And I will do it amazingly.
The funny thing is, it literally didn't even cross my mind when he was like, oh, there's a weird smooth surface. Because like later on, he's like, obviously, I was telling you not to go there, and that's why I had to kill you ultimately, is because you're going so far off course, and you didn't pick up the several clues. And I'm like, you mean the part where I faced a challenge in D&D? I was like, I literally saw the weird smooth stuff. I'm like, all right, I need to think this one. I need to think around this one too, and I fucking did on the spot. I'm like, I got this, because Thorn Whip will pull something towards you unless you use it on something immobile, and then it pulls you towards them. So I'm like, oh,
like a hook shot.
Yeah, it's like a hook shot. So I can I basically hook shotted past it and shit, and I was still fixing all the problems. I'm like, yeah.
And that's my thing, is like, if you don't one of the, I feel like one of the big rules with D&D is that you shouldn't have limitations. There should be no, because the players will always do things, and the only limitations are within the bounds of the rules. Like, can a player use the vine to
I think one of the things that's fun about D&D is that like the story thing that's going to happen is often really boring.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this about Wander's campaign. I'm talking just
in general.
In general, D&D's stories.
It's not about the story. It's about the experience of going through it. The
frameworks are often really bare bones.
Yeah.
I know this too, because we also been going through we were going through a book at Marty's house, but that's all dead now because I think he got overwhelmed as the DM and stuff like that, / certain players being insufferable.
Fun.
But even like the actual books you get on D&D campaigns, that they themselves are like really bare bones stories usually.
Yeah.
And that's because the crazy shit the mechanics will end up doing and the players will choose to do is like the entire texture of the game. And that's where the really fun stuff happens.
Yeah.
Like, and I always loved the story of like when I was doing Jake's campaign back in the day. Like we were meeting in the geology room and we were doing a D&D campaign, and Jake had the most boring ass campaign. And he had the most like min-maxed monsters, and he was just all into the mechanics, but only the boring parts about how like the cool shit he can make up, and not like the scenarios necessarily.
Yeah.
And we were actually bringing in Lewis.
Okay.
We brought him in as a new player. He kind of just got spawned in. We could actually just spawn anyone into this campaign because we were all like battle royale style, like had like collars that were forcing us to do this mission basically. So at any moment, any new player could just join in because they would just be sent into the mission on the same suicide mission.
Okay.
Lewis spends all fucking day making his character and immediately gets one shot in the first round of combat.
Oh,
and is dead. And he just let that happen. Like Jake let that happen in his campaign, and I'm like, dude, like this is like I always get mad when people get mad about like someone fudging the rules, or like whenever the DM like sort of makes last second corrections and changes about stuff, and let like it, to make the story happen, because like moments like that are like that just makes the game worse.
Oh yeah,
if, like new player Lewis dies instantly on his first turn, and that's his only D&D experience, and Jake just goes with that, like is a weird thing. But like this is one of my big moments of like being just the evil druid that is just ruining the campaign, is that I immediately we were playing 3.5. I went into like my travel form, immediately closed the gap between where we were like 120 feet away and the actual castle like keep in like one or two turns. Mm-hmm. They have a whole line of archers up top that are all firing their bows at the incoming party, so they're just trying to survive that. So I dashed past everything. Sid is trying to do like some sort of defensive barrier thing for a slow approach, because that's the only way to get everyone else over there.
Yeah.
But I go around the side of the castle, out of line side of the archers, I use like stone shape or whatever the hell applicable, move stone, earth, whatever that they have in 3.5 to create a doorway in the side of the castle.
Okay.
Which goes directly into their armory. And I transform into a bear. And amazingly, up top, they keep getting nat 1s on their archer rolls. Okay. So they're like breaking their bows, and they have to go down to the armory to get a new one. So like there's a weird treadmill of like unarmed orcs coming to my bear in the armory one by one.
You're just like, sitting there farming XP at that point where you're just like free.
It's one of my favorite things of like, that's the funniest shit ever, and no one wrote that.
Yeah.
No one made that scenario happen.
No, that's the whole point of D&D. The point is the players creating a story around the framework of a DM's campaign.
And like, you've met Arif before, right? At the tabletop sessions. He was playing our he rolled a less than 10 on his intelligence.
Oops.
So he was role-playing his character as being of sub-average intelligence the entire campaign, and he was really good at it.
Okay.
And he would do the most dumb, obvious thing in so many situations, and we were just like, oh no. Like, he had so many stolen goods at one point, and he just walked up to somebody on the street like, hey, and you know a good fence? And she's just like, the person just immediately looks at them and is like, thief! And all the guards look at him and arrest him. And like all the guards can close on him and like arrest him, and all this shit's happening. And the rest of the party, especially me, I was like, I don't know this guy. Yeah. I'm not acknowledging this guy. I'm not going to help him because he's going to incriminate me, this lunatic. But I'm a sorcerer. And I've got like in 5e you get like the sorcerers can have like these bonus points of metacasting where you can learn specific versions of metacasting. There's like 8 categories of it, and you can augment your spells by using a sorcery point, which is like a secondary source of points you have basically per day. And they're really cool ideas. Like one of them is like doubles the length of the spell, or if it's a touch spell, it's a 30-foot spell instead of a touch spell. Or one of them is you can do it without doing any of the verbal or somatic components.
Okay.
So like if there's a catalyst item that still has to exist, but you don't have to do gestures and voices. You can just silently cast a spell, which obviously can be useful in a number of scenarios,
like stealth,
either stealth situations or when you're tied up.
Yeah,
you can cast a spell while you're bound. Like, that's cool shit.
That's good.
And there's like 10 more versions of that, like crazy
I'm sure.
augments. I'm like, okay, sorcerers are really fun in 5e. So I do the turn the touch spell into a long range spell on the spell called Knock, which unlocks things. Yeah. In this case, is shackles. So like I'm assisting him from afar by like unlocking his shackles in the middle of scenarios happening while not getting involved in the fight in any way. And like once again, like no part of this is anyone's plan.
Yeah, like no, the DM wasn't ready for that.
So great.
Yeah, it's a great game. The problem is like people just need to understand like there are like I said, there are liberties that you have to take with certain things because the players are the ones creating the story, not the DM. The DM creates a framework which compels them to go on the story. Which kind of goes to a point that I wasn't actually trying to get to necessarily this podcast, but we're going there anyway, so I might as well just get to this, which is the difference between what is and isn't an RPG in a video game. Oh,
because this is a problem that I touched on this, I think, at the beginning of like the Mass Effect spoiler cast when I was doing Andromeda. It was like the argument about what is an RPG.
Yeah.
Because one of my big problems with Mass Effect Andromeda is that Mass Effect as a series, tons of decisions all the time. So you can handle so many situations differently over the course of the campaign, even if they don't like have widespreading results or anything.
Yeah, there's different.
Andromeda was like Fallout 4, where a large number of the situations were like yes or sarcastic yes were like your dialogue choices, and like there's a huge gap between what is and isn't a real RPG. Like I'll agree that there's like a thing called an RPG in video games that we just at this point we've used it so much that it's the working definition.
Like what? Even like Final Fantasy is an RPG.
Yeah,
but it's
like
not.
that. Exactly that problem where a lot of JRPGs have zero role playing components of any kind.
Yes,
they're literally you play as a party of prefab.
You name yourself
Sometimes. Depends on if there's voice acting. You don't name lightning.
Okay, well,
you basically play as a group of prefab
original Final Fantasy games and role.
you play as a cast of prefab anime characters that hit things and level up, and a completely linear story plays out.
Yeah,
in the vast majority of JRPGs. There are exceptions for sure. Like I played Lost Dimension, and that's all about like literally the villains of that campaign are randomized every playthrough, which is the cool shit because it's basically the JRPG equivalent of the game Resistance, and that's why it's so cool.
Okay,
it's like random allies every playthrough are the traitors, and you have to fish them out, or they'll turn on you. Which I don't know if I explained this ever, but like on top of the fact that like random party members are traitors, and you have to like try to figure out who they are so you can weed them out each round. You have to kill somebody every floor. Whether they're the traitor or not, you just have to pick somebody to kill. So you're hoping that you found the traitor. And at the end of the game, you find out how good you did because all the traitors turn on you right before the final boss fight. You have to fight them. It's like Zevron in Dragon Age, where like
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you have to. God, fight.
That would suck too if you're like not good and you turn around, you're like, oh fuck, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, all the traitors that are left will turn on you during the final battle and fight you. It's a really cool idea, which just means you have lost even more characters overall. Yeah, because you killed innocent people along the way. It's a really fun idea for a game that is significantly closer to an RPG in some ways, in that it at least has that decision in it. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the only decision in it, is trying to figure out the traitors. That's the closest it has. So even that, it's like less an RPG and more a lot of modern indie games that just have cool mechanics-driven story, where the story
more or less,
where the story takes a back seat to being a series of mechanics where you make decisions, like Frostpunk. Yeah. But a lot of JRPGs even have less than that. Like it's rare to even find a JRPG where you can say a yes or no answer to stuff that is disregarded anyway, but at least you get to say yes or no sometimes. Yeah. And unfortunately, there's some Western RPGs that are also basically not RPGs, and then there's other ones that do really cool stuff. Okay. Like one of my favorite things I did recently was I did a Patreon thing for Fallout 3. Yeah. And everyone remembers Fallout 3, especially Megaton. It's a really memorable part of that game. Yeah. And I did something I haven't done before, which my character was dumb.
Oh, you just had like low intelligence?
Yeah. Okay. So I was asked to hack the bomb, and I was playing a morally repugnant asshole. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll blow up Megaton. Fuck it. I was like, well, I'll do that like at the beginning of the campaign. Let's do it. But I was too stupid to. I was too stupid to actually hack the bomb to blow up Megaton. So they have avenues built for that.
Oh yeah, they do.
Because there's the guy at the bar is a drug dealer, and you can agree to meet him at night to in like the water treatment plant in order to get his drugs that can increase your intelligence stats temporarily and stuff like that, so you can hack the bomb. Yeah. And so you can go in there and you can meet with him at the right time. I can purchase the goods from him to confirm that they are in fact there. And then I can, as I'm walking away, turn around and shoot him in the head. And then take all my shit back and also all of the rest of his drugs. And then I can hack Megaton and blow up Megaton. Because who is this weirdo that's going to be like doing honest trade with this guy I'm about to blow up? Like, what the fuck? And then I will go off to Tenpenny Tower and watch it blow up while singing Civilization. They've got things like the atom bomb. So I think I'll stay where I am. Civilization. That song. Yeah. It's great. It's great. And like all of that, that's all RPG.
That's an RPG.
Shit.
Yeah.
And that's all good shit. Yeah. That's all really good shit. That's why Fallout 3 and New Vegas are so interesting, is because you can do shit like that.
I couldn't do Vegas. Vegas
is even further in that direction.
Well, the problem with
the flowchart of crazy ass shit you can pull off is so wider.
Well, my problem with Vegas was whenever I played it, I'd always get to the point I would always get to the point where it's like you need to choose a faction, you know. And my decision was like, no, I want none.
I think there's a no faction ending too.
There is.
There are other paths you can do.
But the problem is like the game expects you to just amicably decline a faction. You just, you know, like a faction would be like,
you can't just shoot them.
Well, yeah, but you know, it's like
a lot of people shoot Caesar, I think, at some point.
Yeah. Well, my decision was like, my role-playing decision was that, you know what, like, I don't, like, basically in this world, I am anti-faction. Mm-hmm. But I'm also, like, very opinionated. And I don't think anyone's allowed to have factions. So you wanted to wipe out every faction. I went to wipe out every faction. And
the fact that you even could try that speaks a lot to what kind of games these are.
Yeah, but it's a problem because the game won't just erase a faction when you can't just
You weirdly have like weird metagame elements that acknowledge them still somewhere.
Yeah, there's still people that are like, well, that still exists, and it's like, it can't.
It's hard to account for every variable in a video game, but they try, which is the good thing.
Yeah, that's why I just couldn't play Vegas though, because I would go through and I would wipe
everything out, and they wouldn't wipe out good enough.
No, like the problem was that people would still say like, I'm part of the Caesar faction. It's like, well, the faction doesn't exist. Like they're gone. I killed all of them. It's like, you're the one outliner on this faction. You can't just be the solo faction guy.
Like, what we're talking about here is a really interesting part I want to get onto, which is that like, there's the BioWare type RPG or like Telltale games, decision making games, stuff like that. But even those games or David Cage games,
I would say those are.
Those are games where you choose. It's like an RPG, but it's like a choose your own adventure RPG.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
There's a really specific, maybe large tree of, but still specific list of things that can happen.
That's not an RPG.
You're kind of picking one
because you're not.
It's
Fallout lets you make a character.
Yeah,
you are your own unique human being.
That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting to. Is that like in stuff like Mass Effect, it's like a compromise between video game and RPG.
Yeah.
Which is that video game has to make all the assets and all the voice acting and all the thing so that all these variables can happen, which means they constrain you to a series of specific variables, and then those are the ones you work with. Or like Until Dawn, like has a whole bunch of different endings and paths. And kudos for that game letting you kill any permutation of characters. You're not locked into paths.
Yeah.
You can literally, like, I've actually looked into it, and I did it for my season 2 of Until Dawn. I literally chose, I'm going to kill these characters and save these characters, and I did it. I did the exact story path that led to that happening, because none of the characters are even reliant on other characters to survive in that game.
I killed them all. Because I don't want
you can definitely kill them all.
I didn't want children.
Like there's no brand, like it's not like a lot of adventure games will each be forking, where every fork has its own forks, and then you're kind of stuck along that line until you end up in the endpoint.
Yeah.
So it's really cool when something like Until Dawn has like a series of independent variables that can all work that way in addition to the actual forking storyline.
Yeah, it's more of a linear story that does routine data checks. Yeah. Where it goes like, hey, roll call, who's here? Okay.
It's also a thing happening in Detroit, is it has a bunch of branching paths where you make the big choice about which which location you go to sometimes, or whether or not you kill somebody and stuff like that leads to you literally going to a different chapter at times, but also smaller checks about like what's your reputation with this character, because that affects which dialogue direction it goes in, or whether they trust you and how this conversation goes.
Which is what Fallout does as well. It checks like how much do people like you.
So like I look at that stuff and like that's the polished RPG experience of like, it's not the true RPG experience, but it's the one that mechanically makes the game look good and feel good. Yeah. In that it looks it looks like a high quality product. Yeah. Whereas all the true RPGs look weird and janky and have issues because they're doing something so much harder.
They're trying to add, there's like, because real RPGs, especially like D&D, is like when you hand someone a book for D&D, it's daunting. It's scary.
You have to learn how a world works, kind of, which I will assuage a lot of people's things. The concept of learning D&D, while complicated, is not that much more massively complicated than learning like Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
like there are video games people play on the regular that are really popular, that are a similar level of like shit you figuring out along the way to play it
to
as
some
D&D.
capacity. Like a lot of D&D is just memorization. You need to memorize how mechanics work. You need to memorize how spells work. How does your class function? Is the memorization. Also,
D&D is so much easier to learn if you just have people that know how to play it.
Well, yeah, that's
like if you just know somebody who knows D&D. Then you just hop into a world and you just make decisions. Yeah. And
you pick it up along the way.
And you'll be like, how do I do that? And they'll be like, oh yeah, check your intelligence. And you have it after a couple times. It's like, all right, yeah, sure. And and you're just watching people play and you'll pick up on it. It's
muscle memory.
Yeah. And most of the mechanics are way simpler most of the mechanics are way more intuitive than like Twilight Imperium. Which is way more abstract and a lot harder to learn, but still learnable in one day and everything. Like D&D is often like you're trying to do human actions and just contextualizing them mechanically.
Well, I think the difference is like Twilight Imperium is a strategy game. So learning the mechanics of a strategy game and then performing strategy is like a really hard barrier of entry because you're asking someone to take...
Oh, yeah. It's so much just to spend a whole day learning the game and then not really have a strategy that whole day because you're trying to learn it. And then, then come back next time to try to now formulate a strategy.
Exactly.
You know how to play the game.
Whereas D&D is more about you're doing strategies, but the strategies are creativity. Where it's like you need more creativity than strategic ability. So you need to be able to say, like, I have these spells. They do these things. How do I fit them together to make them do something ridiculous?
In fact, sometimes knowing less about D&D makes you do crazier things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which is the cool stuff. Like that story that goes around on Reddit and shit where somebody was like going to making a werewolf campaign where some spooky werewolf thing was going to be like hunting the party. And it's one of those things like Nemesis where you can't beat it and you have to like run away and stuff like that over the course of the campaign. And it was like an infinitely regenerating like Wolverine werewolf. Like it was you could not deal with this guy.
Yeah.
And somebody shoved a tree token down its throat and activated it, and it just splattered because a tree grew out of the inside of it, and there was no more werewolf, and goodbye main antagonist. Which is kind of what happened with me and Wander too. Is like we were in jail. I escaped through a weird small back passage that Greg couldn't fit through, and I was peeking back in to see what was happening because people came in to check on Greg, and I was gone and everything. And I was peeking, and this bounty hunter dude, ninja man, spots me through the hole and chases me. And we go down this tunnel, and I don't know where we're going, so I don't want to run too far, and I can barely see. So I start making like druid traps, like the spikes on the floor and other like dangers and stuff like that. And I create like an Orcs Must Die murder trap that ultimately kills this like 7th level player or whatever that's like way too high for our like beginning of the campaign characters to fight. And I killed it because I made an Orcs Must Die chamber. And when you know about like you of course know about the time where we like in episode 2 there was like a giant bird monster thing, and we just lured up to a ledge and threw a tree token at the ledge and it collapsed.
Oh yeah,
fell to his death, and like that wasn't even just like a boss, but like the quest giver for the hub zone for like the next 10 episodes was like more or less the plan. And we immediately killed him and took all his treasure and freed all his prisoners because we made him fall to his death. And it's like, oh, it's like, what if the first plan to defeat Jabba worked, and then the rest of the Jedi movie had to keep happening after that when Jabba was just immediately defeated?
Yeah, but that's the fun. Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, that's the fun of it. And I think video games that tried to be too constrained by mechanics that are like D&D, it gets really troublesome because the game can't compensate for creativity. It can only just allow you to do the things based on the game. So the closest you usually get is, at best, you have something vaguely like the early to middle eras of Bethesda. Yeah. Like Morrowind, Fallout 3 kind of range. Pretty much that's where it started and stopped. It was those games. Yeah. You have that kind of thing, or more commonly you have like a CRPG is like the closest you can get. Okay, yeah. And pretty much the way to come close to simulating D&D and how good role-playing can be is you need nightmarishly long dialogue trees where when you talk to somebody, you have so many possible responses you can pick from that can completely go in different directions. Because that's what players will try to do, is they'll think of so many different things to do. So you got to be ahead of them. So you look at like Planescape Torment's lists of responses you have sometimes, and it's just like you're scrolling through your own responses options. And also one of the other big checks for me is just be able to attack people. Oh, yeah. Like not like you should be able to attack anyone. Stop making a game rely heavily on the existence of an NPC. Yeah, it's a crippling system. Like Mass Effect, for example, exists in a world where you go to the ship or the Citadel and people just exist there, and you walk around unarmed and so on. And it'd be really weird if Shepard randomly started murdering everyone, because that whole setting is not great for this kind of thing. And you don't meet people on missions. And when you go on missions, it's just monsters you shoot through, because it's a Gears of War shooting gallery and then back to a quest hub every time. So it doesn't work that way. But in a lot of CRPGs, the NPCs that you interact with that are on your side or non-hostile, and they're either they're sources of quests, or they're part of a complicated political structure of the area, or they're part of several warring factions, or all these other things, you can just attack them. Like one of the cool things about Wasteland 2
is that you can attack every NPC in the entire game, including the people at Ranger Citadel, your HQ. You can attack any NPC and kill them, and they will stay dead.
Oh,
and the game will have to just continue on.
I think Skyrim's like that, isn't it? Besides children?
I don't think it had children, did it?
Well, Skyrim has children.
Did it?
Yeah, you can't kill the children.
The way that Bethesda games usually did it is that they, at least the ones I remember, is that you would, if you killed an NPC that was necessary for the main story, the game wouldn't stop you. It would just say a message that's like, by the way, you totally just failed the main quest forever. Just so you know, and you just do what you will with that information, because you know a lot of people see the main quest as being optional in Bethesda games anyway. Which is also valid. Which I mean is like, but at least they give you a cursory message like, by the way, just so you know, like, just so you don't find out 70 hours from now, the world's doomed. Which
I would argue Skyrim isn't like a game that has an ending. Skyrim is a game that you just keep playing.
I wouldn't know. I've literally never been able to get past the first 2 hours. I cannot get even vaguely interested in Skyrim. Everyone in it's boring. Everything in it to look at is boring. I'm just left alone with like just the raw mechanics of a Bethesda game, and that's not good.
No,
because they're not great video games generally. It's the world and characters and everything, and I'm like, this isn't Morrowind. This isn't Cyrodiil. This is boring McIceland, where everything's great and there's several raiders and wolves everywhere I go. Go to the top of this mountain so old people can drone at you for 12 hours about how you're the chosen one, and then you get the one trick that everyone memes. I'm like, cool, I got the meme. And now I'm back to Icewolf Land. I'm like, fuck, I hate being here. Like, it always wears me down before I can get anywhere. I don't know the story of that game.
Morrowind is
besides the chosen one, Dragon Man.
I mean,
like, I don't know if there is a story. I don't know what happens in it because I never can get past the first couple of hours.
There's a minor
it is.
There's like a minor well, not minor, but there's like a subplot of the main plot about how like what the dragons are and why you're killing the dragons specifically and blah. It's fucking irrelevant. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when you know the information, it doesn't make the game better for you. It's kind of like Oblivion, where it's like the plot was go to hell, stop the monsters, but like you go there, you
Patrick
stop them.
Stewart wants to send me on my destiny.
It doesn't, like, Morrowind is like the best example of an RPG that they've made, which is you go in there, the world is interesting because the world has no expectations of you. Where I feel like Oblivion and Skyrim have these expectations that you want to do the story. You want to, you want to get to the end. But Morrowind comes up and is like, hey guys, you want to play an RPG? Here you go.
I did like how in Morrowind, you can't do the main story.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning, they're like, the main story, you're not ready for this. Go do some other shit. Like immediately.
And it's not
like
just...
the moment you find Caius Cosates, he's like, go get a job, loser.
Yeah.
And you go get a job, loser. And
because you're a prisoner. You just show up off a boat.
Then you just stumble into like all these intrigues of like how all these different guilds are like all want to recruit you, and you go do some missions, and then you find out that they're kind of at war with each other.
Yeah.
Like kind of naturally, as opposed to like through like contrived setups that are about how they're all at war with each other, which I think happens immediately in Skyrim.
Yep.
Is like you happen to walk... Don't you like happen to be... What was it? Were you specifically on a prison transport with like members of both rival factions or something?
Yeah.
And you have to like choose a side like immediately or something?
You don't have to... I don't think you have to choose... Do you have to choose a side?
I think they introduced the conflict like immediately immediately.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
It's kind of cooler to do it in the Morrowind or even like... in some ways, even Fallout 4 thing where you just kind of slowly discover the factions over the course of the playthrough instead of it being like immediately in your face.
But see, Morrowind was nice because Morrowind, unlike Fallout, allowed me to just kill everyone in the factions. And it just...
You can also ride silt striders through mushroom forests, which is pretty neato.
But
as opposed to mountain land of mountain.
The game just lets you do that, and the game just goes on like that never happened. Like, I wiped out the Thieves Guild. Like, I just walked in one day.
You just deleted them.
Deleted them.
Goodbye, Thieves Guild.
Well, because when I first played Morrowind, it was on the Xbox, the original Xbox.
Yeah.
And I learned, like, there's a cheat code that you can use to, like, max your stats. So you can just change your stats to whatever value you want them to be. So I changed all my stats to be ridiculous. And then I went to the Mages Guild and I was like, hey, let me join. And I created a bunch of custom spells that would use so much mana but could do ridiculous things.
That was one of my complaints about that game. What? Is that the spell customization is so horrifyingly expensive that all the fun stuff that is supposedly in that game is actually stuff you basically can't even really make with a real character.
Yeah.
You basically have to cheat to do any of this fun stuff.
I mean, and the more, it was like the other system too was not only was it expensive, it cost a fuck ton of mana to use too. So like the more things you added to a spell, the more mana you needed. But like to get more mana is like, you have to keep leveling up. And it's like at some point you have to literally be like so extremely high level that it doesn't make sense to even have the spell.
I think when I was with my like campaign, like my character that beat the campaign, basically, like if I wanted to have like a spell that regenerated like 5 hit points per second or something as like a passive, that was like the maximum mega grand gem in its entirety and the most enchantable item of the world. It was like to get that tiny upgrade. I'm like, huh. It's like the rumors, its reputation very much precedes and surpasses what you can actually do in the game legitimately.
Oh yeah, which is why, like I said, I cheated. But it was fun to be able to just like create this spell that devastated
the idea
everyone.
of being able to make stuff super cool.
Yeah, like I think my spell, I think I did like an avatar spell where I just like, I want every element to pop out at one time from one spell, and I just walked into a room and was like, poof, and then everyone just died. And I was like, that's the end of the Thieves Guild. And then people just didn't talk about it anymore. People
or like that griefing strategy in Diablo 2 where you mod frozen orb to shoot other frozen orbs instead of frost bolts. So it's an infinite loop of frozen orbs. And then it just crashes the game of everyone that can see it.
Good times. Good times. Unfortunately, like then you have something on the other side of the spectrum, which is like World of Warcraft, which is the least role-playing you could ever do, the least
you just make a character and you level them, and it's such a not role-playing game, and the story is so unimportant that nowadays the average experience of a lot of people is to make a character and instantly boost them to the max level and not deal with any of the in-between, as if, you know, skip the story in the game, in a role-playing game. Or people just matchmake into random dungeons constantly and never set foot in the actual world or engage with any of the settings and stuff like that.
I'm guilty of both. And
I'm just like, this is... Yeah, they're like, they're called MMORPGs, but they are massively multiplayer. That part's true. Yeah, but the RPG is really the modern thing where it's like it's a game with RPG elements, the way that someone would describe Shadow of Mordor. Yeah. That's or Batman. It's like you level up a character and buy skills and shit. But it's not an RPG.
I'm guilty of doing the like dungeon run or boost character, and so like doing our playthrough, our series, is so hard
because you're like doing the old experience of running around and questing.
And I start getting really agitated because I'm like, why? Like, I can't fly here. We can fly in like 10 minutes if we just queue. We have enough party members. We can queue all the way to 60 in like fucking 30 minutes. Let's just not deal with these people. But we have to go to a quest, and it's like, well,
we were like dealing with being in the open world and like unexpected situations where like a PvPer shows up and one-shots us all and specifically kills the NPC we need to turn the quest into, and then waits for it to respawn just to kill it again so that it can keep re-killing it on a timer.
Like fucking, and it's so aggravating because I'm like, my first instinct is to just, I'll just make another character, boost to 110, come back here and devastate it. Like, I don't have to deal with this.
I will kill you with money.
Yeah, it's like that's how I approach WoW. Is like, I will win because I have the money and I will not deal with this.
I think that's why I find it so cool to find any moment where you can circumvent the mechanics of WoW, is because that's the closest you get to feeling like you're playing an RPG at all, is when you do something that you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, I get
Even
that.
You're mostly just glitching something or something. Like there was in vanilla WoW, there was always the whirlwind axe. It was this hyper mega powerful super axe that the warriors got when they finished their quest line, because back then every class had class quests you did like every 15 levels or so, and they were mandatory to learn the next major class skills,
and the end was like a class weapon.
It honestly was a better game back then when it was like you could do stuff like that, and
you shots fired.
Well, you got to like enjoy your character.
You don't like grinding for legion points so you could make your weapon better,
so and then undo the weapon in the next expansion and delete it entirely.
You do realize they already did that, right? They already like removed that feature.
What?
The Legion weapon?
Yeah, that just happened recently.
Yeah, because like I was
all annoyed because like we played like I did like 50 episodes of Wander and Shell and of Legion, and I was like had this whole trajectory of building up my priests like weapons and shit like that, and then I was invested in that shit, and then they're like, over that. It's only around for like a year, but fuck it. Which, yeah, that was short.
That was short.
That our series started in like I want to say it was like December 2016, and it's like it's only 2018. What the fuck? There's a super short expansion and super short mechanic like in the lifespan of like WoW and shit like that.
Like I got my 110 character. Like I did the boost for the hunter, so we could do the thing. I went to go do Legion content, and I walked over to the thing. It's like you can get a customized weapon. I was like, well, here comes the grind, and it's like everything's already unlocked. You're fine. I was like, what? And it's like, well, you can upgrade some of the stuff, but it's all unlocked already. You just need artifact points, and you can keep upgrading them. And I was like,
yay! So
I just have everything.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, but the Legion things, like, what you mean the artifact points? So I just went out and I did 4 quests.
I'm glad I pressed the stupid buttons on their annoying app to send them on those like 6-hour missions over and over again for artifact points for like a long ass time, just just delete the mechanic a year later anyway.
I was playing on my own. I was just live streaming myself playing, and I think I did like 4 missions, just 4 isolated missions where I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna try to get some fun things or whatever. I had a total of
everything you did in that game would flood your inventory with like artifact point items that you had to consume and shit
I think
like
in total I walked away after I think it was like 4 or 5 missions. I walked away with I think it was 15 billion artifact points. And I was just like click, 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 just clicking to upgrade stuff. And there's like one button that's like, it goes up every time, but it never stops going up. And I was like, how much artifact points do you need?
Just seeing how much you can get.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there and it's like, eventually gets to a point where it's like, because the whole button, its entire existence is like, when you use one of your abilities, you have a chance to start, or you have a chance to activate this boost to your agility for 8 seconds. And I just kept pressing it, and the number keeps going and going and go. And it's like to the point where like my agility gets up to like 10,000 for 8 seconds. Like I can just one-shot things now. Like if this activates, it literally just negates a player. Because it's so fucking high, and I ran into that problem where I was like a rogue showed up to PvP me. He didn't even do a move. Like, he didn't even do a combo. He literally walked up to me and was like, one button, instant killed me. I was like, excuse me?
Why do I even have 500,000 hit points if I can be one shot?
Yeah, and the worst part
too, the numbers are so out of control in that game now.
Legion's just fucked. And so I was like, I sat there and I died by this guy 7 times because I kept spawning, and then and he was a rogue, so he would go invisible, wait till I respawn, and then just stab me again, kill me. And I was like,
I wonder if Legion was just a bad expansion or something.
Legion was a fucking mistake.
Like, I know that Marty like stopped playing WoW. Like, he hasn't played WoW for months now, aside from our random thing we do every now and then. And I'm like, you're a guild leader of a raiding guild, and we're in the first year and a half of an expansion being out, and you already quit WoW again. That's not a good sign.
I quit.
That's not a good sign for that expansion.
I have on a different server. I have a 110
because you were a Legion player too, right?
Yeah. At that point. And so when I bought Legion, I got my hunter to 110. I did all the Legion stuff, like hardcore, farmed, did all that shit. And then it got to like all I had left to do was just unlock flying in Legion, which I fucking did my time. I waited until it was finally available to even unlock.
It did my time.
Yeah, because like when a new expansion comes out, they go like, you can't fly in the zone until we allow it. And I was like, why? And it's like, because we want you to appreciate the landscape. And I'm like, I'm fucking not. I fucking hate Legion landscapes because they're awful. And it's like,
I do like not being able to fly in WoW.
Yeah, say that until you go to fucking Legion, where all the goddamn landscapes don't make any fucking sense.
I played Legion.
It's awful.
We beat every zone of Legion. I was there.
Legion sucks. I hate Legion.
Like, something that bothered me is when we were playing, we got to for the first time ever, I got to set foot in Lich King's expansion.
Yeah,
and that's when our series died. So I never got to see the other stuff in between, unfortunately.
Oh.
Because what happened is Legion was coming out. We're like, well, let's go do Legion. We'll come back to these characters later. I'm like, I don't believe you. And I'm like, fine. I finally got acquiesced, and lo and behold, we never went back to my Worgen and shit like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn it! I never got to finish everything between. I wanted to play everything that was between Burning Crusade and Legion, because I stopped at Burning Crusade back in the day.
Yeah.
But But like we were in these mountainous, crazy areas in like one of the first zones of Lich King, which is hard to say because you can start in multiple locations and kind of fork across the map and shit.
Yeah.
But like it was a place with very vertical cliffs and like paths that go up the cliffs, and you do like you go in like these shacks that are on the cliff faces to shoot bombs at things and stuff like that. Like it's that zone.
Yeah.
And like that zone clearly has really specific avenues of how you're supposed to navigate it with all these different like pathways and so on. And being able just to fly everywhere in it really just like makes it not a map. Like it reminds me of how like Nether Storm or whatever the fuck, the northern zone of Burning Crusade was just a bunch of rocks.
Yeah.
It was just a shapeless mass of blah where they just could spit any... did I say Legion or Burning Crusade?
Burning Crusade.
And it's in Burning Crusade, yeah. It's the purple zone.
Yeah.
It's just a face.
You're talking about Hellfire Peninsula area?
Yeah, but the north chunk.
Yeah,
the nether whatever.
Chunk. Yeah.
It's just a bunch of caves and rocks and floating meteors. It's because the nether destroyed fucked up place.
Yeah.
And having flying in the game encourages all the maps to be like that one, where it's just a circular blob where they just put stuff.
Yeah.
They just put some quests down and like fuck it. We don't need layouts or pathways.
Which is why
they'll just fly everywhere.
Which is why in Draenor they started this like mythology of you can't fly until the patch or until the expansion's been out for a while.
The flying license was already there all the way in Lich King. I think like right out the gate, the moment they made a second expansion after Burning Crusade where they added flying, they always had the flying license.
But Draenor and Legion did not come with flying
right
in the beginning.
I think more specifically in the other expansions, you had to finish the expansion more or less. Then you could get the license at the end. Once you finish the main story of that expansion, you were given access to Which is also how Burning Crusade worked in the first place. Is you got the ability to fly basically at level 70.
Yes,
and so you had to
60.
You had to kind of play through it. No, 60 is when it started. Burning Crusade starts at 60 because the original game ended at 60.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Azeroth, you're allowed to fly at 60. Right.
Well, that's. Azeroth, you couldn't fly in until Cataclysm.
Yeah, but I meant because
if they let you fly, you'd see all the unfinished shit. Yeah. Which actually is where I wanted to go with the previous thing where I was talking about like one of the fun things to do because you're so desperate for like options and like the ability to like feel like you're making your own choices or fucking around or something in WoW.
Yeah,
is that one is like you do the Whirlwind Axe exploit, which is that the Whirlwind Axe is like a super mega powerful like level 45 weapon. But you get it like level 30, like the quest, and you cannot do that quest. Or you can get all your level 60 pals and they can just destroy the quest for you, and then you just have this impossibly powerful weapon.
Yeah.
And then you go into Battlegrounds as like a level 29 with like a level 45 weapon, and you're just like one-shotting everyone, and the game's just broken as shit, and it looks like you're fighting people with a can opener because it's a dumb weapon. Like one of the like similar stuff, there was like you could leave the world in a couple of places. Like in the Burning Steppes, you could go to the east, and there was just a chunk of land they never made on the map.
Oh,
it was just you look at the map, and there's just a circle of that just wasn't a zone.
Yeah, and
you could go there, and it was just a weird. It's like that thing where you see like when you see an unfinished 3D model of a location where like it's mostly flat, but there's weird little like jagged nightmare divots everywhere because it's just a weird mess, and like you could wall jump and glitch your way into the Caverns of Time when it wasn't a thing you could go into yet. Like the door was closed and the dragon was guarding it and shit because the whole expansion hadn't even happened yet. But you could glitch yourself into the Caverns of Time by jumping on top of a bunch of weird textures you weren't supposed to jump onto, then jump on top of the cave, and there's a spot where you'd fall through the ceiling into the cave, and you could freely explore the entire Caverns of Time. And it was all there. Like, I mean, like the whole like cave full of portals place, which is really big.
Oh, yeah.
You could just explore all of that in like vanilla WoW, like non-expansion WoW, and just hang out and go check out this weird theme park. It's like it's like going to Disneyland when it's closed. It's a really weird look. And so that's why I got excited when you showed me the mechanical pets.
Yeah.
Because we found out this thing with mechanical pets, and I'm going to segue into, of course, our troubles we've had. Andrew, because I'm playing as a hunter in our series right now, and I have a mechanical pet, and I'm a gnome, and I just kind of wanted to stick with that. But it's a stupid robot rabbit they can start you with. But Andrew showed me that there's like robot wolves and shit. I'm like, I want that. He looks dumb as shit. He's like a weird nightmare Zoid monster. Like he's not even wolf-shaped.
He is just literally Zoids.
He's fucking weird looking. And I'm like, I want that. Give me that. And we found that there's a really specific exploit like the Whirlwind Axe to get it really early.
Yeah.
Which is that you can go into Nomergon and it's supposed to be a level 100 only pet. So they have a bunch of buttons you can press in there, but you have to be a level 100 hunter to press the buttons to solve the puzzle in the first place to wake him up so you can try to tame him. And so, but I found out via the internet that you can have like a level 30 hunter go in with the level 100 hunter, and the level 30 hunter can tame the pet instead of the level 100 hunter taming the pet. And then you just have for the whole campaign, you have this like pet that's supposed to be level 100 and you just have it way too early. And like, that's always fun to fuck with the game that way.
Yeah.
But we found out the hard way the game's got all these annoying ass limitations because you boosted a character to 100.
Yes.
And you were going to help me do it. And then you go into the instance and it says you can't do instances for 24 hours after boosting a character.
Yes.
As like for some contrived mechanic of like, we don't want you to ruin other people's instance experience or something like that.
Even though you can't go to those instances anyways, because why would you queue up when you're max level?
It's the weirdest, dumbest shit. And so like we found out, we still haven't done it. We're planning on doing it like tomorrow maybe.
Yeah.
Because like the game just won't let him into the instance because you can't play a boosted character.
Which is great, by the way, because I boosted a hunter. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to go get some hunter pets then while I wait.
And you're like not allowed to do stuff as them either?
I can't go into any instance. So like all the instances where they have pets that I want to get because I those are the pets I want. It's all like, yeah,
you just have to arbitrarily wait for like 24 hours.
I basically had to go to Legion and I had to find equivalent characters because like I wanted a strider, like I wanted a water strider because water striders pets give you the access to walk on water. That's one of their passives. And so I was like, I want that. So I went to go get a water strider in fucking Hellfire Peninsula, and it's like, oh, it's inside of a dungeon. And so I did all the work, and I didn't realize it was in a dungeon. I was just going through the motion. I just didn't think it was in a dungeon. And I was like, I can't go in here. So like,
whoops.
I had to go in Legion. I had to go find when
I was researching pets, a shocking number of them are in dungeons. And I'm like, isn't that the worst place to put them? Now that everyone like matchmakes into dungeons constantly, like no one wants to just deal with the one guy that stops to do a weird side quest in the middle of your match-made dungeon experience.
People are pretty generous about it.
Especially like if the pets are like, what if the pet's like attackable?
Well, they're all attackable.
Like a lot of these people will just attack that pet and kill it, and then you won't get the pet.
Well, I mean, the idea is that theoretically, you're hoping that you're with a group of people, like your friends, who will let you do that.
Like my one conceit that I'm hoping for is that Friender is supposed to be like this unconscious thing that's just sitting there, and you have to boot him up in the first place.
Yeah.
So that means our whatever 3 jackasses we matchmake with probably can't kill it.
I don't think anybody can.
Although I think we don't have to matchmake anyway because we realize that the Nomergon doesn't scale up to your level, so you just one-shot everything.
I can just one-shot everything.
It's weird that's where I'm surprised it doesn't just scale forever.
No.
I wonder why there's a cap.
Because it kicks you out at some point where it's like you level beyond Nomergon because you don't need to go there anymore because there's new dungeons to go to. Yeah. So there's no reason for them to level to scale up because why?
Well, I find that weird because the whole point of the scaling world they added in the other patch was to make things scale to higher levels.
Well, yeah, but again, why would you do that for an instance?
But they just arbitrarily cut off. It's all content. There's no reason to scale some stuff and not other stuff. And it does scale
because there's no quests.
There's no quests even the quests scale, but just arbitrarily only like even the instances do scale, but they have weird arbitrary cutoff points where they stop scaling. Like every instance currently scales.
Yeah.
But then they just decided, but it only scales for some people sometimes to a certain range, and then only that part. I'm like, why? I thought the whole point of adding the scaling was to make it so that you could play all the content all the time, but then they just cut it off.
Well, again, because
it's like how you can play like Ol of Azeroth in any order, any configuration until you hit like level 65 or whatever, and then you're like, fuck it, this whole continent's dead to me.
Yeah.
But like, why?
Well, no, the whole continent's not dead to you.
It's
you
really
can still do
weird
world quests. Like, no,
the main game does not scale forever.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought the main game does.
Nope. Every instance and every zone in Azeroth right now, it's all the most weird arbitrary shit. Where like it all scales, but only for this part of the experience. And I'm like, why? I get that. I get why you wouldn't want it to scale to the current expansion's level range because then they just level through the current level range in like Goldshire and just go from level 100 to 110 killing Hogger and shit like that would be weird, but I'm surprised it doesn't it's weird that it doesn't all go up to like right before that or something. It's a bunch of weird arbitrary milestones where it's like you can only play Dead Mines until you're level 45. It'd be crazy to play level 46. That's weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? It's all a weird grind treadmill. Who gives a shit?
I think the issue is just because there's nothing to do in an instance besides the instance. Mm-hmm. So once you've done the quest in that instance, why the fuck would you ever go back? It's not a good place to farm.
Just go do them.
They're not.
I mean, you could also do them for the first time at level 100 or whatever.
Why would you be doing them for the first time at level 100?
Because there's a lot of instances, and if you're just randoming through your instances, you'd be like, well, yeah, but never got around to RFC.
You can specific
RFC. Yeah, but I'm saying there's so many instances that you can easily get to a high level and just have not done RFC or whatever.
I guess.
There's no real reason to lock you out of it because they have all the scaling technology in the game already.
Because you can make a new character, sucker, and go do it that way.
I don't understand how you're not acknowledging that it's just the most arbitrary shit.
Because the whole WoW is just full of arbitrary shit. The whole game
everything used to just have its level and that was it.
Well, yeah.
And then one day they decided, it scales now, but we just made up weird boundaries for the scaling at random.
I personally think the scaling is arbitrary itself. I don't want it to scale. I like the scaling makes it incredibly worse.
You don't like the scaling because you can't run through low level zones without being assaulted by random
I'm being
enemies.
Attacked by fucking shit, and I'm like, you guys are weak garbage. Why are you attacking me?
Yeah.
Just fuck off. And it's like, suddenly everything now is not weak garbage. It's like, oh, you're under level 60? Everyone will kill you. And it's like, why? Get the fuck out. No, I don't.
But what happened to us is we were cut off by the fact that you couldn't enter the instance. So we just had to call off our plans, which was already an ordeal because your boosted character had to play through the entire tutorial zone for like an hour or whatever. Yeah. Like I'm just sitting there waiting and you're just sitting there grinding your way through this tutorial, and then we find out you can't even go in. But what was really incredible about this dumb detail that locks you out is that we saw horde players come in. And it was like a low level hunter and a level 100 hunter came in, and they got stuck at the portal and had to go and then leave and give up. Yeah, they were there for the exact same reason we were, to get the exact same pet via boosting and shit, and then also had to turn away because they were clearly the way that they had to leave clearly showed that they were in the same 24-hour limit. Yeah, and they were learning about it for the first time too, just showing how dumb it was. Yeah, nothing shows how stupid and universal and annoying that particular feature is. That seeing somebody else immediately run into it right next to you, and you're just like, why is it like this? Yeah, it's just gonna keep ruining people's evenings over and over again.
It's weird. I will say I am looking forward to being able to turn off PvP because Legion has taught me PvP is like a cancer. Yeah, because
PvP is all right when you're at least level range with each other. But it's really awful.
Legion weapons break the whole fucking thing because
they're overpowered.
They're all overpowered.
Well, they're gonna be gone though.
Yeah, but they're not right now. Yeah. So I'm trying to do a fucking quest to get overpowered, and then someone can just walk up and one-shot me, and it's like, can I just turn this off? Can I play the game? And then it punishes you for being weaker. And I was like, what the fuck?
If you get the thing where if you get spawn camped, but in this game, because in WoW when you die, you can only respawn by going back to your corpse as a ghost.
No, or you can talk to the ghost and take a 10% fucking damage. Sorry,
but you can run around with the best you can do is run around with in a 30-meter radius or something like that of your corpse's location and respawn somewhere in there, and then that's the best you can do at trying to run away is to try to juke them by kind of spawning in a weird spot within your corpse's radius.
Also, you spawn with no health.
Yeah, you always respawn with already hurt, and you're also dealing with a guy who already beat you anyway. Yeah, and they can just keep killing you over and over.
Who already beat you at full health, and now you're even less.
They can keep killing you over and over again, and every time you die, your respawn timer gets longer.
Yes,
to punish you as if you're doing something
as if you're the bad person.
To the point where when I was playing with Nick and Marty had a 3-minute spawn timer from being just constantly ganked by a mage or whatever that would just one-shot him instantly because we were in Northern Stranglethorn and we're at the camp up there, and the only way to leave is through the choke point in the road is the only way to leave that camp, so they could just stand there and just be like, tab one, and just instantly kill you the moment you spawn anywhere within their attack range. And then you are back to running to your body, respawning again after waiting for the spawn timer to be over, which gets longer every time. Just so you can keep trying to spawn 30 meters further down the road until they don't notice you once and you can escape. And it's a nightmare. And the other penalty is you can respawn at the ghost, and she damages your equipment, and she gives you resurrection sickness, which reduces I don't know if it's still the same way now, but back in the day, it was they reduced all of your stats by 90%.
Yes.
For 10 minutes. So your punishment for resurrecting at the graveyard was that your character was unplayable for like 10 minutes straight, which I still don't even know why. I don't even know what mechanical reason you have for penalizing people for respawning at the graveyard in the first place.
Yeah.
They thought that you'd be like using speedrun strats to like get around a few mobs to leave. Like,
I guess so.
I don't even know what behavior they're punishing.
I think like that's the problem. I think the resurrection system it's specifically meant for PvE. It's meant to punish you for trying to do something you're not supposed to do, clearly, which is
it just completely ignores when you're getting killed by a player.
But when you're getting killed by a player,
killed by a level 110 player when you're level 30.
Yeah.
And they're one-shotting you for numbers that don't even make sense.
Yes.
Like, you're like, I have 5,000 hit points and he hit me for 2.5 million.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
and the worst part, too, is like, you know how you fix this system? You can, to make it so it works in PvE, but it works in PvP and PvE.
Yeah.
When you respawn, you have an invulnerability timer, but only to PvP players. So enemies, mobs, can still attack you. Fine, I can get away from a mob, but I cannot fucking run from an asshole who can do 2.5 million damage with one button press.
I mean, more than anything, it's just like PvP is fun in the context of like, oh man, we're in like the Hillsbrad foothills or wherever the fuck, and there's a rival faction of people our level that are also trying to quest here, and we got to deal with each other.
Oh yeah,
man. But it's broken the moment you're like, I'm level 30 and they're level 500, and why is this even allowed? And they're just like, they're killing you with their brains.
Yeah. I remember some fun PvP moments. Like me and CeeLo used to do so much ganking to people in Hellfire Peninsula. We would both get on because I would play. I forget. I think he played Paladin. He was playing Paladin. I played Hunter. Hunter has a gimmick or has a broke. I don't know if they fixed it ever. But if you're on a mount and you dismount, you can shoot
on your way down.
You can shoot on your way down, which will knock them off their mount.
And they I actually remember that.
But the gimmick is, as a hunter, if you disengage before you hit the ground, it nullifies fall damage. Mm-hmm. So I would fall to the ground.
You shoot people
off their mounts as they're which you can't remount while falling. Mm-hmm. So as they're falling down, the moment they hit the ground, then CeeLo would just stun them, and I would disengage and then just volley them until they were dead. And it was the best because you would see horde people do that. They would specifically fly into the sky and go AFK because they're like, oh, I'm going to go eat food or my mom called me or something. And you just get in the air and you're like, boop. And it's dead, just gone.
It sure was a lot safer to AFK as a rogue.
Yeah.
I was always a rogue and I could just enter stealth mode. And that's a catch-all AFK thing where like you're not really going to get caught unless somebody walks directly into you. And there's a lot of area in the game.
There was
not be walked into.
We did that. I used to do that. That's also why I like hunters, because you can find rogues that are being dickholes because you have Flare. So I would do that.
Then you have to know to look for them.
No, yeah.
So like you're still like you're safe from the randos when you're a rogue.
Yeah.
You can just go stealth in any random place and they'll only find you. They literally step on you.
Yeah. Well, when Legion came out, we started doing we got our characters at max level and then we would go to lower level areas. And what we would do is like I would first light a flare, throw it into a low level, village. And so it would light up if there was anybody trying to AFK or anything like that. We just walk through, destroy the village, and kill everybody inside. I
suppose you play as a hunter in both WoW and Realm Royale.
Yeah. Hunter's the best class.
You just really like flares and rolling.
I just really like... Well, hunters are great because I can play the game alone as a hunter. I don't need anybody else because I can get a pet, it can be a tank, I can do everything I need to do.
I think I always disliked hunters because it was my brother's class.
Oh. The only thing that sucks
is... I'm still convinced he picked it just despite me being a rogue. Because PvPing against him in, at least like back in vanilla or whatever, was like impossible.
Yeah, not anymore.
Like back in the day, he would just sit on his frost trap and just wait and flare at random to see if he could find me. Yeah. And I couldn't do anything to him because the moment I got anywhere near him, I would just be frosted. And then he has complete control over the fight from that point on because he can like dot and slow me and then I can't stealth and I can't escape. And I was a human, so I didn't even have like some of the other racial tricks. And it was like, I could destroy so many different classes in that game, but Hunter, especially with him, I was just like, none of the tools exist. Like,
they fix that now.
You didn't have any cool throws or teleports or any of that stuff.
Because they added a thing for PvP where you get you have a skill that you can press a button and it removes all impairing effects during PvP. It has like, like a 10-minute cooldown or whatever, but it's the idea that you could be running through like I did, where I was doing some of my Legion quests and I was taking an elevator and a horde guy just jumps down and starts fighting me. Like he just basically jumps down, stun locks me. And so as the elevator's moving, I take off the impairing effects and I jump onto a ledge outside of the elevator. So the elevator keeps going down. I'm standing on the ledge. And the moment he goes down, all the enemies start like attacking him. Mm-hmm. And so as the elevator is going back up and he's just sitting there, I just see him go back up and I just jump down, to the bottom of the elevator and just run out of a different door. Just go to a different elevator.
For me, it was like the weirdest thing being a rogue that had stealth and lockpick and poison and all these other weird tricks, but we didn't have disarm trap.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why can't you sneak up behind the hunter that has the obvious trap you can see and, like, disarm their trap like rogues do in every other game?
I think you can do that now, can't you?
Yeah, but it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It definitely was not.
It was not.
It's probably true now, but at the time you did not have
disarm
trap.
It was not vanilla.
Yeah, and it was a weird omission to not have the ability to disarm a trap.
I think it was because hunters existed to be counters to rogues, because otherwise it's like impossible.
And that would like ruin them.
Rogues are broken.
Although still all of their dots and other shit that they had would still fuck up the rogues, even if you could disarm their trap when you knew it was where it was.
Yeah.
Because
you could still stun lock a hunter easily.
You can, but they have a pet. And they're annoying. I don't know. I have not PvP'd for like 12 years.
Honestly,
I'm really out of touch at this point.
Like rogues now don't do anything. They don't. I mean, you don't go near a rogue. Rogue will just fuck you up. Because especially like hunters cannot PvP against any class. It's just hunters are literally worthless. Because like, and your pets can't do anything, because your pets can be rooted. They can be mostly one shot for the most part, because your pets don't have nearly as much life you do. And so,
which is like, weird. That's a flip.
Yeah.
You used to be this shitty squishy class that had this tank pet running around with you.
Yes, that's why I liked hunters.
That was the point of hunters, basically.
Yeah. But then they definitely swapped it.
Can you wear plate now as hunters? I would expect that. I would expect them to just be like, fuck it, they have plate now. Classes don't mean anything. Nope. And rogues can use axes. Fuck it. Nothing makes sense anymore.
I'm
still mad about that.
It's nothing
I'm still
ridiculous.
mad about rogues using guns and axes.
I mean, they don't. Not in Legion. They don't
They're
anymore.
Supposed to be rogues.
In rogues, they use little blades. But
they had axes as a weapon class.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, which
for me it was already weird to be like a combat rogue that uses swords, but then there was maces and there was axes and there was all these weird like not roguey abilities, and they had they made an entire build that specializes in shooting people with guns, and I'm like, very stealthy. These buccaneer rogues.
I mean, most people
pirates
don't pick
life for me rogues.
Most people don't pick those shitty whatever they call them, traits. Yeah, talents.
I mean, they only just added that one like this last expansion.
Yeah,
it didn't exist until Legion.
Yeah, so it's like most people don't pick those ones. It's like the idea is like for PvP, you're not even supposed to be a Beastmaster for Hunter. You have to be a Survivalist, because Survivalist is melee, which is
defeats the purpose of hunters.
Yeah, why am I a melee hunter? And it's not like melee as in like, ooh, I guess I stab people.
It's exactly
like a pole arm.
It's exactly when I went through like 70 levels of leveling as a rogue, being this like stealthing, stun locking, fun thing adventure. And then the moment I get into raiding, it's like, oh, it's about stacking bleeds and poisons and slice and dice.
Yep.
So like, you do all this like stun locking and stealthing and fun cool shit for 70 levels just to earn the right to raid, where you stand still mostly and you just generate combo points so that you can stack slice and dice, because having faster attacks is the number one thing that increases your DPS. And then you just stack you have deadly, at the time at least, you'd have like deadly poison and garrote and rupture, and like you were just stacking all of your bleeds, because they would do larger damage over time than any of your crits and big fun attacks would ever do.
Yeah.
And they would do consistent DPS and not spiky stuff, which meant that you didn't pull aggro.
Yep.
Which meant you would be able to do consistent damage nonstop the whole fight. And you say goodbye to all your stuns, because nothing in raids can be stunned, and stealth is pointless because you can't one person anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, cool. My class is like the antithesis of this entire concept of endgame.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's kind of why I gave up after one expansion of WoW, is because I was like, my favorite class isn't even the same class when you hit raiding, because it's the antithesis of the premise of the class is the entire concept of raiding in the first place.
Well, raiding as a hunter is like just as boring, where it's you you just stand in one position and you're like 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 and you start like doing it faster.
I at least had like a rhythm to it, which is kind of nice, that I was managing things.
Yeah.
Like my interface in raiding was to have a giant thing that on the screen that showed me the time left on all of my dots. And also my slice and dice, so I knew which one was the next priority to keep up at any given time. So you're juggling these things basically.
Yeah.
And trying to keep them up. It's like I had like an analog for that kind of thing, but it's hard to think of what it... Wait, is that how Twisted Fate worked in LoL? Where you're like stacking? No, actually no. For people that watched the Monster Hunter series, I did. It's a lot like playing the Insect Glaive, which you played Monster Hunter on the 3DS, right? Mm-hmm. Was the Insect Glaive in that too? Because they had the huge array of weapons. Did you really learn what they were? Or did you just pick like one you liked?
Just pick one I liked and went with it.
Well, there was the Insect Glaive. Was this one where you have a staff?
Okay.
Like you being whoopity with your staff weapon and everything. But you also additionally have a customizable insect creature that comes with you. Because Monster Hunter weapons are crazy.
Okay.
Each one of them is like playing a different character in itself, even though it's just a weapon you swap in and out of. And what would happen is you would target the insect at different parts of the monster's body, and it would change one of 3 different colors based on the essence it gets from the monster when it attacks it.
All right.
Then you can consume that to give yourself a boost on your character. Like increased attack damage, increased attack speed,
that's
and
like
increased
some ridiculous metagaming going on.
And each one of those effects lasts X amount of time, and then you have to like try to keep them up so that you're in your peak fighting form.
Yeah.
And you're juggling all those. Same thing happens with the Warhorn in Monster Hunter, which you probably noticed because you probably saw other people using it on you to help you and shit like that. Is the Warhorn usually has like 3 different buffs, and you play the song by doing a specific attack combination to make the Warhorn buff happen. And then each of them has a timer before they run out, and you're juggling the 3 of those. And like people were surprised that people seem to be surprised how well I took to those things. But I took to them so quickly because I raided as a rogue for like a year, where I did the exact same thing, with juggling my slice and dice and my rupture and my Dudley poison and like all my different damage over time things I had to do to keep top of the DPS, which I did always. I was top DPS of my entire guild and the leader of the rogue class in 2 separate guilds because I switched guilds and it was still true. And I had that shit down. Like I had a DPS as a rogue, and boy does it get old eventually. And boy is it not the experience you wanted when you played through a rogue for 70 levels up until then of being a stealthy like rapscallion.
I had the opposite effect. Like I was Hunter became more enjoyable when I became better at doing DPS, because then I literally didn't need people anymore. Like I became so efficient that my pet just needed to hold aggro while I just killed it incessantly. So it was like I would just have a bunch of pets that were tanks, and I would never own any DPS pets, because then it was like I could just summon a a tank, and if it died, summon a new one, go out there, summon a new one, go out there, and then like after the fight's over, resurrect all of them and then just restart. And so like that's the system I went through, and it was fantastic. But like now
it's like they're your Marvel versus Capcom party.
Yeah, basically it's
you got your 3 characters you're sending out, and assist trophies and whatever the hell.
Yeah, but I'm sitting in there doing like crazy, like combos and all this kind of like dots and all this stuff, but no one's bothering me, and I love it because I can just be my class. Whereas like I play Warlock that we're doing as a group, I fucking hate Warlock. It is awful because I'm sitting there, I'm like,
you joined our group and we're instantly killing all these things, and your Warlock has to like cast his spells, but the shit's just dying.
But I can't
I'm just like Serpent Strike and shit like that, and like we have like instant attacks.
It's like I don't even know
it's a warrior and a monk and a hunter, which are all instant attack classes, and then you show somebody has to like do a casting time where he does the wobbly hands.
I think I'm like
and a meter charges up.
I'm like contemplating just
grinding a new character
because
you're already mad after one session.
I might just make like a rogue, because like it's the only class that I can do that is not going to be useless, because like I can't even do fucking instances, because you're all going to just kill everything instantly. And it's like, and especially Hunter.
You'll get to come join in on the fight during the boss fights.
which is great.
Which are a whole 30 seconds long in Modern WoW.
Yeah, well, the problem too is like warlocks are also really powerful for single targets. So the moment we're fighting a boss, it's like all this damage doing instantly, and it's like, well, now the only fight I get to do is pretty much over. And
yay!
Why did I even show up?
I was too efficient, and I ruined it.
Yeah, and it's like I have my DPS meter, so it's telling me like you're fucking up. These are the moves you need to do. Like I have all these things that like ensure that I'm never falling behind, which ensures that I never play the game. Because like Warlock is either a class where you're too slow to kill anything or you're too fast. And it's like,
I never anticipated we would talk about WoW this long, but here we are.
Okay, well,
we should probably do questions.
Yes, let's do questions.
Oh God, we're already an hour and 40 minutes in. All right, 20 minutes of questions.
All right.
I'm gonna try to make us only do 2 hours for once because we keep eating into the rest of the day with us.
Yeah. So this is from Mona. It is. Do you know about the state of?
This is the Black Ops question.
Yeah, Black Ops 4 and how it seems to be a complete mess. And if you do, what are your thoughts on it?
Blah. There's actually a Racevic video about this now.
Is there?
Which kind of just made all my points for me, really. But it's just it's interesting thinking that there's a certain way people thought and then realizing it's not true.
What do you mean?
Because I told you we had this conversation a little while ago, I think, but like. I was listening to all these different podcasts and talking to all these different people about Call of Duty back when like Modern Warfare 2 come out, when there was like sort of a controversy about it being beatable in like only 4 hours. Mm-hmm. Like that was the really short one out of all the campaigns. I think it was Modern Warfare 2 specifically, but I'm not entirely sure. There's so many of them now.
Doesn't matter.
There's so many of them now. And one of the ongoing things was like people were saying like, everyone just plays the multiplayer of this game anyway, and that's what all the time goes into, and that's what the product model, the profit model of this franchise is, and that's what they sell the season pass for, and that's what everything is. Like, would it really be a problem if they just made a Call of Duty game that was just a multiplayer and no campaign? And so many people were like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And since then, we've had Rainbow Six Siege and Overwatch. Yeah. And at the time, Team Fortress 2 was already a thing.
Titanfall.
And like specifically like Titanfall and Overwatch and Rainbow Six Siege all launched as like $60 games.
Yeah.
With their like we are just a multiplayer game and that's it. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was always fine because like even back in the day you had Turok Rage Wars. You had there was I think there was some versions of Quake or Doom or whatever, not Doom. But I think there was arena shooters back in the day where the multiplayer was the only feature.
Quake Arena.
Yeah, and like was Tribes or something. I don't know which one specifically, but there was definitely old school shooters that were just arena shooters and didn't really have any meaningful campaign. Yeah. Or if they did, the campaign is, meaningful is the word here, because if there was a campaign, it was often literally just you were playing the multiplayer mats against bots in order. So like it was like a campaign the way Mortal Kombat had a campaign when you're playing it in the arcade.
That's what
you fought every other character.
Turok Rage Wars did. But the only reason the campaign existed was to unlock characters.
Yeah, those games campaigns were usually the equivalent of like a fighting games campaign, which is you just play the existing maps against the existing players to unlock more characters.
Yeah.
What's a Let's Play? Turok Rage Wars? Oh yeah, we did. It was Marty versus Carissa, and they couldn't even figure out the basic controls.
I'm saying like we could do a Let's Play of that because boy, are there a lot of characters to unlock.
I grew up playing Turok Rage Wars.
I did too.
It's a dumb, silly, fun game.
I've got it for the N64.
It has the Emancipator, one of the coolest, weirdest guns ever, which is they would shrink people until they were out of stuff. Or you could turn it into its reverse setting and bloat them until they pop. And it's like, what a weird fucking thing in this game.
Also, they had really dumb characters you could pick.
Yeah.
One of the characters is literally a swarm of flies.
Yep.
And the other one's a velociraptor.
It's a real weird game. I had I had like every character too, and I played the shit out of that game.
Yeah. I remember I had
on the 64.
God, I remember I had the fucking swarm of flies, and no one knew what to do about it. Because like, as a swarm of flies, you don't get a weapon. You're not allowed to have a gun.
You just kind of weirdly like bite people.
You just bite people. You just go on top of them. But the problem is like people would use the Emancipator and you would like try to shrink the swarm of flies, But if the swarm of flies moved at all while shrunken, you're fucked because you'll never find that small little batch of flies, and they're just
the
hitting
last
you.
Fly that's alive in there somewhere,
and they're just hitting you, and you're like,
oh yeah, oh you're right. One of the not even a raptor. One of the characters you could play as was like one of those little like chompers from the beginning of Jurassic Park 2. It was like a micro dinosaur.
It was like a
and it would die in one hit, I think. But it was just a weird, mega fast, cool little fun thing to play as.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of fucking around to do in that game. So I've been totally open for all this time for the idea of multiplayer only shooters where that's just the whole game.
Yeah.
Because if that's what you want to make, then that's what you want to make, and just fucking go for it. Like, I am somebody who prefers the single player parts of shooters. I like playing or even co-op shooters. Like, I like playing Perfect Dark
or
Halo in a local multiplayer setting.
I do too.
That's my favorite thing. But I recognize I'm not the target audience of these multiplayer shooters because I've literally not been playing them at all.
Yeah.
But I've also like given up on playing Call of Duty for its single player campaign like a decade ago. Like, I have not been engaging with this franchise since Modern Warfare.
You're not a target audience for any.
So I'm like an outsider, but like I heard so many long conversations about how all these other people were cool with the idea of Call of Duty just dropping its campaign to focus on even more or better or larger scale multiplayer.
Yeah.
Like more features, more maps, just go all in like Overwatch does and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was real surprised by people being mad. But I'm clearly just not in the target audience and just don't know what's going on with this community anyway. Because I was also like, I saw the trailer for Infinite Warfare. I'm like, oh shit, look, it's the coolest looking Call of Duty game ever made. And then I look at the dislike meter. I'm like, oh, and everyone's like, it's the most disliked trailer in the history of YouTube since Ghostbusters or whatever the fuck. Like, I think it was the most disliked video ever or something.
I think so, yeah.
And I'm like, it looks fucking rad. I look at Infinite Warfare. I'm like, maybe I'll play that one because for the first time, I'm like, that looks cool, and that's what people are mad about. So I don't understand the Call of Duty community. The Call of Duty community saw the zombie mode from World at War, which was garbage, and was like, I love this.
Yeah,
make more of it. And I'm like, now it's a whole ecosystem of zombie players. I'm like, I don't understand this audience.
The children, Keith.
I just don't understand them. I don't know what they want.
They don't care about quality. They care about like longevity.
So to actually explain the controversy, they're dropping the campaign of Black Ops 4.
Are they?
Yeah, Black Ops 4 is not going to have a campaign.
Oh no.
Instead, it's going to have a battle royale mode. So in addition to having its multiplayer mode, the standard feature that everyone actually plays these games for is also going to have a battle royale mode,
which will be the one that everyone will play, and not the multiplayer, which will piss off the multiplayer fans because they don't like the
Call of Duty has such a giant fan base that they'll both be played. Like, you don't have to worry about like, I can't find players for this. It's Call of Duty. Like, neither of them's going to kill the other one.
You'd be surprised.
I don't think that's a thing. It's like in Halo, even when overall the ecosystem for audiences was smaller, you could play every single playlist in Halo and you'd always find a match. And that was when the overall population was smaller back then.
Yeah,
and
but
even then it was just, if you were playing the popular shooter of the time, like, you could play all the different playlists and have fun and you'd find matches.
Depends. Now, it will become a problem. Like, so if they're scummy about it, I'll land on scummy. If they're scummy about it and make the battle royale part a paid product, like you have to buy the base game to get the battle royale.
I'm sure you do.
If you have to,
I'm sure you have to buy Call of Duty 4.
It's going to be the opposite.
That's what you get, is you play whatever mode.
Where I think it's going to be a problem where no one's playing battle royale because no one's going to pay $60 for battle royale. No one's going to do that.
No, but they'll play $60 for Call of Duty like they have been every year. And then they'll play Battle Royale because it's there.
Well, I'm saying I don't
just
think...
like they play zombies.
I don't think
they never had to make zombies free or something.
I don't think they'll find 100 people to play fucking Battle Royale.
I think they will. I think that's an unrealistic interpretation of how many people play Call of Duty.
I mean, I'm saying I think Fortnite and PUBG are doing enough of a job to keep that Call of Duty market slim. Because, like, who's going to want... Why would you pay $60 for this fucking multiplayer shooter when you can just keep playing the Fortnite?
I think
your friends aren't going to buy Call of Duty.
I think the more reasonable argument you could make is the idea that they won't necessarily grow the way that they might think they will by having Battle Royale.
That too, yeah.
If anything... But I think it will probably achieve its intended goal, which is they already have Call of Duty players, and they have this scary new market, the demand of this Battle Royale... So they might be able to hold on to their Call of Duty players by just adding Battle Royale to their game.
We'll
and then
see.
people don't have to look outwards for it to other games.
Who knows?
For me, I'm just like, it's whatever. It's a feature in a shooter, and it's a really straightforward feature to add to a shooter, and that you already made a whole game where you run around and shoot people. All you have to do is add like a larger map to run around in and larger player cap. I'm like, it's a really intuitive feature to add to your game.
Yeah,
I've already explained already why I've been open to the idea of not having campaigns.
Yeah.
My complaint here, what I think's weird, is that it's Black Ops 4.
Okay.
Just make up a new thing. Call of Duty, whatever the fuck.
People want a Black Ops 4, so you have to give them a Black Ops 4.
That's what I find weird about it. I also find it weird that like I thought they were going to do like trilogies or something, so that's also weird to me.
No.
Like that, like, oh, Call of Duty 1 through 3, then Modern Warfare 1 through 3, Black Ops 1 through 3. I'm like, okay, so they're doing like a trilogy thing, sure. But like, they're doing a sequel that doesn't have story, and then they're calling it Black Ops 4, and I'm like, but it's not a sequel because there's no story to sequelize? It's like, Turok Rage Wars was Turok Rage Wars. Like, just call it whatever.
Yeah.
And if you establish a subtitle that is the non-campaign subtitle, then you could make sequels to that. Because sure, you can make an Overwatch 2 if you want to.
Yeah.
But like making it a sequel to the story series is weird when it doesn't have the story.
Yeah, it's hard because I have no investment, no stake, no.
Yeah, I have no investment. I just don't understand why you'd why you frame it as a sequel to the story subtitle specifically when it doesn't have the story.
I don't even know why people keep buying it.
But I was annoyed when they even made a Black Ops 2 because I'm like, I thought they were just going to do like I thought from that point on, like that company was just going to keep making like Call of Duty, blah,
like a standalone every time.
Make up like, here's the setting and here's the characters, and then they're like, sequel, but it's in a different decade, and I'm like, what does Black Ops mean even then? I'm like, and I think I remember like blowing up fleets and shit like that. I'm like, this is Black Ops.
Yeah.
This is super plausible deniability, which is what the Black Ops means basically, is that it's a secret covert op that the president doesn't know about and shit like that. And it's like, this is not.
No, it's Call of Duty military word and then number.
Yeah. Like, it's really annoying that Black Ops is supposed to be like these, like, they're supposed to be unofficial missions. And I'm like, I think we're doing like massive catastrophic explosions and like outright war, and I'm like, that's not what those words mean.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've never been really heavily invested in that since Modern Warfare 2. So like once Modern Warfare 2 came and went, I was like, you know what'd be really fun if we just stopped making Call of Duty forever.
Yeah, and then, I was just generally over it because every Call of Duty campaign becomes like a sludge.
Yes,
and I can't tell you what happens one or the other.
And people argue that like there's more to it. Like, yeah, like the zombies are great, and it's like
I've already lost which one had the dog. Like there was a dog one.
Yeah,
there was one where I was a spaceman that blew up. There was one where I was.
That was Modern Warfare 3.
There was another one where I shot people in space, but it wasn't the Infinity one.
No, that was Modern Warfare 3, I want to say.
But there was the other one where you're just a spaceman for 5 seconds who's not a soldier, you're just a random spaceman, and then you blow up, and that's the whole chapter. There's one where you do a super linear stealth section where you have to assassinate people from behind, but all you can do is walk in a straight line towards them, and you have no other controls. So it's like a pretend stealth section, but it's really a quick time event.
I don't remember.
There's one where you're swimming in a coral reef. There's one where California falls apart. There's one where you're a sniper covered in you're all gillied up.
It doesn't matter at this point. You're just gonna keep saying things and things don't matter.
Yeah,
like
you're just saying like it's a bunch of random missions I can't piece together.
You can put them in any fucking Call of Duty game. It doesn't matter. Like it'll just all convert into one. But I don't.
I feel like if anyone wants a Call of Duty campaign, I can't help but think like surely they have had their fill by now. There's like 14 of them.
I mean,
there's so many. There's almost as many Call of Duty campaigns as there are like Final Fantasies.
I mean, the Zombies game has a campaign, so clearly people are just lunatics. What is happening? Oops, I did not mean to do that.
Yeah, go find another thing.
Yeah. So here's another question.
But the real answer is I'm an outsider and I'm not invested, but I just find it weird to have heard the narrative of people not caring about losing the campaign, but then that being the controversy when it does happen. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't understand audiences, I guess.
Yeah,
but also I don't care because it's Call of Duty.
I don't really think more about it besides someone telling me there's a new Call of Duty game, and I just forget.
They also had a conversation with Nick and a few other people where they're like mad that their their cherished Blizzard launcher has been inflicted upon by like Call of Duty, and like we can't have Call of Duty in it. They have all these scummy business practices or whatever. And I'm like, have you seen Overwatch? Have you seen Overwatch or most modern Blizzard stuff? Because I'm like, y'all's garden's been poisoned for years now.
I wouldn't.
I saw into the fucking abyss when you started showing me all the weird Twitch integration nonsense and the weird loops of loot boxes within Twitch, within Overwatch, within Twitch, of all the shit that's happening. I'm like, of this is the darkness of soul. Like, this is like Blizzard is so far gone on weird, like, horrible business practices of trying to just suck more money out of you after you already paid $60 for their game.
I mean, there's a lot of clear Activision touches that go in there that are very nice and very
that's
not subtle.
That's when I say that the garden's already poisoned.
Oh yeah,
like this whole merge that happened is so long ago that like watching the Blizzard fanboys that have been just like accepting all of Blizzard's bullshit, like, and didn't start thinking the garden was poisoned the moment Diablo 3 Action House happened, which was a long time ago, like 2012.
Yeah,
it was like 6 years ago. The people who have somehow gotten this far, which I was in a whole room of them, because a lot of Marty's friends are like super mega like Blizzard fanboys, and like all of the games they play are from the Blizzard launcher all the time, basically, and they're just in that ecosystem.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And it's like the people that like have like not cottoned on at all to how all the shit that Blizzard pulls, but the moment Call of Duty shows up, now it's like a bad thing's happening. It's like, no, man.
those are the same kind of people.
In fact, as far as I can tell, Blizzard does worse shit than Activision pulls in Call of Duty.
No, absolutely not. I mean, what game specifically would you be talking about?
Overwatch mainly.
How
not? How is their stuff different?
What does Overwatch do that's worse than anything?
Just the nonstop loot boxes that people act like is a problem in every other game except for theirs, and the several other ways they try to get money out of you via these different systems and the Twitch integration.
Is the getting the money out of you thing the bad thing?
Yeah.
So every game is a bad thing?
I'm talking about like the several ways that people try to get money out of you after you buy the game. Like, it's like how World of Warcraft is a thing.
Well, I'm curious.
Like $40 for the expansion, and you pay $15 a month, but then they also still try to get you like out of things that you admit to spending money on, where you're talking about like boosting a character or buying mounts and all these other things where they just keep sucking more money out of you.
Yeah, I mean,
there was this giant loot box controversy about.
I think there's a difference between a game. There's a difference between a game allowing you the option to spend money like a lunatic versus a game egging you on to spend money like a lunatic. Because, like, take Overwatch for instance, there is no incentive to spend money. There's literally none, unless
just putting it in front of you is already incentive.
Yeah, but it's not evil. It's not inherently evil.
It's like the experience of like every time you play Fortnite and you play any match. And then immediately afterwards, it's like, here's your like chest opening marathon, and here's all your llamas to hit, and like it's putting the RNG in your face constantly.
That's not the Fortnite battle royale part.
No, I'm talking about Fortnite.
Yeah,
like
Fortnite.
Fortnite, the one we've agreed is bad.
Oh yeah,
like that nightmare.
Oh yeah, I hate
like
that.
Being like, look at the goodies is like there's so much fanfare about the goodies.
Yeah,
and like that's the thing that kind of stuff is stuff that Overwatch does. And it makes you look at all the other people's glamour shit. Like that's why TF2 and Overwatch have been so happy to ruin their entire aesthetic by making 50 costumes per character and shit like that, is because seeing other people with that shit incentivizes other people to buy it, and it's been proved to work for the last 10 years now, and it just sucks more and more money out of people.
Yeah,
and people are so arbitrarily blind about it, where they're like, all the companies I don't like, it's a giant controversy when they do it. But when Sacred Cow fucking Blizzard does it, no matter how far gone they get, and every year they get worse and worse from where they were 10 years ago, it's like, it's always okay. When like they used to be a company that would just make a really good game, and you bought the game, and you played the game, and many of these games literally had no hooks. You would just play them.
So, like, Warcraft and StarCraft?
Diablo, StarCraft, even World of Warcraft did not give you options to take money.
That's not true.
It's true.
No, vanilla World of Warcraft allow you to do name changes, realm changes, and... Yes.
No.
Yes.
There was no realm changes. There was the weird $10 name change.
Yeah, you could do the name change then.
That was the one thing you could pay for.
That's it? You scum?
No.
Yes, it is. You scum. You took $10 from people unnecessarily to change the name, which is fucking ridiculous because we all know you can just change a fucking name and it has no impact on anything.
It is annoying and ridiculous, but it's like a weird standard feature that people have done.
It's not a standard feature.
It's the thing that's in a bunch of different online things where it's supposed to be disincentivization, but it's also, I do think it's weird and dumb.
It's like scummy.
But it's also like a thing that's like not even
literally
like, a thing that never comes up.
Warcraft, Diablo, and StarCraft are the only games that Blizzard has ever made that had no transactions.
Whereas like now, every time I launch WoW and I'm playing with you and Marty and everyone, you're all like fucking pimp my ride, showing off your 15 premium mounts you all spent money on and went to events for and shit like that. And it's like, I'm just like, what the fuck? I remember when I would just spend 20 hours grinding rep to get like my Nether Drake, and that was like my one cool mount.
You can still do that.
Yeah, but that used to be all the mounts. Every mount was a thing you got from something you did in game.
Not okay.
And that was it.
It's not like there's a fucking plethora of buyable mounts.
Yes, there is. I've looked at it.
It's not that. It's not
a nightmare
comparatively to the ones you have to get by like farming reputation. Absolutely not. God, I wish every mount was available for purchase in fucking WoW. Then I can get the ones I wanted. I don't want to have to grind for half these fucking monstrosities because all of them are like, hey, could you spend like 6 months playing the game? And I was like, no, I can't.
Shit.
I don't have 6 months to dedicate to grinding.
It was the weirdest experience just to be in a room of people that are complaining about like the evil Call of Duty coming into their sacred launcher full of pure games.
My thing is
they're so nice.
My stance on loot boxes is always, if it's only for aesthetics, it's completely acceptable. If you put anything else in a loot box that is not aesthetic based, like
I'm pretty thoroughly anti loot boxes.
I mean,
just in
boxes,
general,
they don't
just
bother.
Period.
That's the thing, though. If a loot box, all it does is create like, oh look, I can make my character look like Santa Claus. I don't fucking care. Whatever, make your character look like Santa Claus. It's gonna make it easier to pick off in a fucking map.
For me, the bummer is that all the shooters got worse when they added loot boxes.
Well, yeah, because then it became a drive to make more money.
Like I liked it, but not even just that part about the money, but just like my experience playing shooters got worse when people started having cosmetics.
Why?
Like, I liked it better when I would play, like, Halo, and people picked a color, basically.
But they also customized their head. They also customized their... Oh, you're talking about,
That's Reach. That's way later in the franchise.
So you're talking about, like, Halo... Okay.
I played my most played shooter ever, Halo 2.
All right.
Or, like, in Turok or whatever, you'd pick, like, a character, and that was what the character looked like.
Yeah.
And, like, Overwatch and TF2, like, all have these nice aesthetics and characters they set up, and then it just goes to shit when every character has 50 variations.
Why?
And, like, you can't recognize a character at a glance, and like it's all a shit show, and it just becomes a weird mess.
But like Perfect Dark did that and allowed you to literally customize your character to be absurdities. Like, you could put like Elves' head on
to an extent,
Mr.
but also
body.
recognizing a Perfect Dark character was pointless because they all played the same.
Well, Halo's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Every character plays the same, so why would it matter if they all have?
I just gave the example of how not being able to recognize a character instantly is a problem in these class-based shooters. Because like every single character in Overwatch or TF2 is a specific character with specific abilities, and you have to strategize around how to deal with them based on what their behaviors are, what their role is, what their hard counter is, all these other things. And so making them look like 50 different characters is a problem.
No.
It's also part of why Overwatch is like not working well as an esport, is because it's a shit show to watch, because it's just a weird nightmare of cosmetics and nonsense.
What?
And you can't see what anything is.
No.
Yeah.
No. What? First of all, fuck you. No. No, you like seriously have no idea how Overwatch League works at all. Overwatch League has very specific skins that are just the default skins for the game. You don't get to play with your character skins. You don't get to like, one of them looks like Santa Claus. They're just the same default characters.
I baited him into proving me right.
To different.
I did it.
What? How did I prove you right?
I was prompting you to say that.
Like Overwatch League is just
yourself about why the skins are shit.
No, the skins...
like, even the league is like, the skins are shit.
No, the league isn't going to use skins because that's not the point. The point of league is to be a professional. Overwatch is a game for funsies.
That's definitely not why.
What?
They did not ban the skins because they were like, we need to wear our suits to this game. They all look proper and good. They did it because the skins actively interfere with the way the game plays.
No.
Yes. Argue it out in the comments, because we're literally not going to give any ground here, and we'll not go anywhere in this conversation.
Every character is built uniquely enough that you can identify them regardless of the skin they're wearing. That was the entire concept of allowing skins to even exist in the first place, which was an explanation.
So many of them are just humans. that look the same.
You don't play Overwatch. You can't really argue this method. Like, you know what the characters fucking look like.
I played TF2 and I went through the same shit.
TF2, they all look the fucking same. Like, literally in Overwatch, there's a robot who has a fucking...
So you're saying I'm right for TF2?
Yes. TF2 is like...
So all the cosmetic bullshit is bad in TF2.
Yes, well... Yes, on multiple levels, because TF2's cosmetic is built into the
They have the thing where they send you keys and make you pay to open them, which is pretty fucked up.
No, like the system in TF2 is beyond fucked because it's built into the Steam interface, and the Steam interface is like a capitalistic nightmare machine that keeps rolling and will find a way to somehow run you over in some way or another.
Maybe you can open this loot box if you grind enough card levels.
Yeah, it's like
no, they're mixing.
At some point, it's like there's loot you can only get by owning certain games and getting achievements in those certain games, which unlocks a loot, but then you can sell that loot for a lot of money, which you can use to buy a better loot item that you can't get because you can't afford the game, but you can afford to play this one game you have to get this loot item that you can sell for. It's nightmarish.
We've had previous conversations about it, but like on top of the sheer skill ramp you have to grind up just to be in the ecosystem for these games, I would just like them more if I could turn off cosmetics. But then you have the argument of like, no, you can't let them turn off cosmetics because they need to see my glamour I spent money on and shit like that.
No, actually,
like other people's fashion has to be forced on me.
No, I don't care if other people can't.
I don't want any of anyone's cosmetics. I literally want to just see everyone's default character models.
I agree with you. I think it's acceptable to have a system where it
and
like
you know why the feature's not there that I guarantee people have asked for the exact reason I've given, which is that you want to be able to instantly recognize every character because it's literally an advantage. Just like how when I played Billy, we did a LAN party of Counter-Strike, and it was Billy. It was off on his fucking corner with his back facing the wall, so we couldn't see his screen, and everybody else had their screens all kind of. We had the central thing all along walls and shit, and everyone's playing default Counter-Strike. And the one time we got to see behind Billy's screen, we realized, oh, he's playing some weird fucked up model where all the walls are like monochrome and everyone's like a chrome ass, not glowing, but like everyone's like a perfect cartoon character of just a red man or a blue man, and like everyone was super clean and easy to spot, making the game massively easier for him to play. And it's like that thing, like that's...
You do remember that Billy is colorblind, right?
No, he was not playing like colorblind mode. He was playing heavily modded, like...
I know, I'm saying... It might be easier for him to literally play Counter-Strike, which is a game that has a multitude of colors and no colorblind option. Easier when they're just outlined as a solid fucking color.
This was not just it makes it colorblind accessible. This would make it easier for any player.
Did he say you guys can't do that?
Because everyone was like a glowing. No, he was clearly like doing it as like a background detail and making it so no one of us knew he did it for the longest time. So that he could like destroy us. Because he was obliterating us every round to the point where it wasn't even fun. Because he could just see everything like he was fucking omniscient.
I mean, I think the reason they don't include it in Overwatch is because you can't.
No, the reason they don't include it in Overwatch...
It's not for money reasons.
Yes, it is. Are you fucking naive?
No, I'm not. I'm saying that... Do you not understand how a fucking online game works? You know how complicatedly asinine it would be to make it so every individual motherfucker in the game could see the game as they want to see it?
It's not that complicated.
It would be complicated. No. Because what is it in? So you say like, I only want to see default. No, I want to be able to see everybody in only skins that I want to see them in. So it's easier for me to see...
That's all local. That's not server side.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
The cosmetics you're wearing is server side.
You can absolutely make it just show not their costume.
No.
It's not like the server itself has to load every costume. That's not how it works.
It's not that the server's loading every costume.
The way it displays each individual character is on your end of things.
No, everyone sees the same thing.
This is the most naive shit. This is not true. The entire reason they do it, the entire reason they do it is for the Pimp My Ride shit.
Okay, fine.
That's the whole point.
Whatever.
You need to see everyone else's cool shit, so you want to buy it.
Yeah, whatever.
That's literally the business model.
I guess
that's inarguable. That's literally true.
Fine. Well, I don't.
It's like why they do car shows.
If you added a feature that allowed it so individual people can turn it off, I wouldn't care. That's fine. As long as I can see. The reason they don't do that, which people definitely ask for, is because they want you to see other people's costumes because they need you to want those costumes. Then why would they give you
It's the same reason why they do limited time events where you can only play this one mode for this particular week, and it has a costume you'll never be able to get again.
What?
Because they're continuing to suck you into the system.
Oh, you mean like there's only certain costumes you get during loot boxes during a certain time of year? Oh, okay. There's not modes you can only play.
Which is a double. Sometimes it is.
No.
Yeah, it is.
No.
At least that was true before.
No.
Yes.
No, you would get a loot box for playing that mode, but you would not get a skin for playing that mode.
I'm saying there was modes that would go away.
It still happens. Every mode goes away. It's on a rotation.
That's the double doses. One, they're trying to keep you in the ecosystem of playing the game any given week by keep giving you a mode you can only play for a limited time. And then they add a loot box to that where there's certain things you can only get cosmetically from loot boxes during that event. So it's a double dose of one. You have to be playing during that particular week, so you can't deviate away to play other games because they want to keep you in their ecosystem because they monetize keeping you in their system all the time.
Okay.
And they additionally try to get more money out of you by making it so it's a limited time loot box you can only get during this event. So if you can't get it from random dumb luck, then the incentive is to spend money on it because then you're like, oh shit, I only have one more week to get this thing, and like, oh fuck, it's gonna go away.
Well, no, there's in-game
people
currency.
Start spending money. I know there's in-game currency, but if you can't get the loot box thing within the time frame and you keep not getting it, then people start spending money on those loot boxes because now there's an incentive to get it within a specific time frame or you're going to miss out on it forever.
If you're a person who wants those things and you play the game frequently, why wouldn't you be playing the game enough to generate the free loot boxes which you get every level and every week with arcade, which is what I do. I have a massive amount of in-game
free
currency.
ones, but those ones are so rare that you won't get them anyway, even if you open all the loot boxes.
You don't know. The point I'm saying is,
specific item.
Why would you?
Which is why in China they made them show the actual drop chances for everything because of the gambling laws.
Which is fine, but the problem I'm saying is,
ways to emotionally manipulate people into gambling more and more and spending more money on the system.
But these aren't players.
Like that's the point. That's the whole concept of whales.
Well, yeah, but the problem I'm saying is like the game has enough avenues where you literally can get everything you want without spending money.
Eventually.
Except
when there's special events you can only do this week or you're fucked.
That doesn't happen.
Then the part where I just grind forever and eventually I'll get it 3 years from now maybe is gone.
Why don't you just buy it with the in-game currency?
Because you can't. That's luck. That's still luck.
That's not luck.
You can run out of in-game currency and people do.
Yes,
but I guarantee that's not just like every time an event happens you just spam your in-game currency and you got it. It's easy. Especially people that aren't literally playing it all day, every day because they like work in front of their Overwatch computer, which is not normal.
I mean, sure, but I mean, you could play the game for an hour a day and you'll have enough currency by the time a next event rolls down to buy every skin in that event.
I don't understand how you can't see this shit.
I don't see because
this is literally all true.
Well, yeah,
like,
but
it's all provably true.
But there's a million.
I'm not even stating opinions here. It's literally a business model that's been.
I'm not denying the business model.
Ironed down and perfected for 10 years.
I'm denying the idea because my entire basis of the argument is that there's nothing inherently scummy about Overwatch's loot box system comparatively to other games' loot box systems, which do not operate the same in the same method.
And you can definitely find worse things. Like you can look at a pay-to-win phone game and be like, "Look, this means Overwatch is good."
No,
I don't think that's.
I'm
valid.
saying like you take for instance Overwatch versus Rainbow Six, Overwatch versus Call of Duty, Overwatch versus
For Honor,
Overwatch versus it. Overwatch versus literally any other fucking Activision, fucking Ubisoft, EA game that exists out there, you're going to find that Overwatch has a more balanced and fair loot box system comparatively because there's nothing you can get in a loot box that you cannot get, or you can get everything in a loot box in-game, through in-game currency and for free.
Yeah.
Without ever having to
just a matter of where we draw the lines.
Well, and I'm saying
for me, I draw the line when you're trying to emotionally manipulate me into spending more money after I already bought the game.
Why are you so susceptible?
People are provably susceptible.
Yeah, and that's your fault. Stop being. It is. There are methods there are systems in the game to allow you to get it for free. Why are you falling for
whether I'm susceptible or not, which I'm not, by the way, because I've never bought a microtransaction.
Okay.
The fact that the game is functioning as a flashing fucking banner ad for the thing at all times is still a thing I don't like.
Okay.
And it makes the game less enjoyable.
That's fine.
The fact that games constantly selling stuff to me all the time makes me not want to play the game.
And that's fine. You don't have to play the game.
Seeing other players in itself is the banner ad because that's their business model.
Okay, I guess. I don't spend money.
I don't spend money either. I don't do microtransactions. Yeah. I avoid them like the plague.
But like, that's the thing is like, I
think it's super hypocritical that people act like magically Overwatch is okay.
I'm not saying that loot box, like, I'm saying that the loot boxes in Overwatch are okay because they're not inherently restricted to monetary. There are ways to get them without having to pay for them. That makes it, to me, a far less scummy avenue to take than it would be if you make them only pay to get, which is what everyone else does.
It's actually another kind of weird, dark form of scummy.
Is it?
Yeah.
How?
Because when you give people a limited amount of shitty resource that doesn't generate quite fast enough, they spend that shit and then they don't get what they want, but then they're already in the habit of spending shit, and so they go directly into spending the real shit.
This is like super nihilistic outlook when I could just look at it in a positive aspect.
It's not nihilistic.
Are you fucking kidding me? You're telling me that there's no positive outcome to a loot box at all.
I mean, more or less, there's not.
That's nihilistic. There are positive outcomes.
The thing I'm saying is actually true.
Okay,
it's
but
not like a meta. I'm not talking philosophically. Well, this is actually the way people do this. So I'm talking about operant conditioning. I'm talking about the Skinner boxes. I'm talking about the way people actually, corporations manipulate people into getting money out of them.
So then
these are all true things.
So why am I playing games if I gain nothing from it? Like, if I'm not receiving a reward for the playing, and you don't get that from multiplayer.
That's what video games used to always be.
But winning in a multiplayer game is not rewarding.
You played video games for decades without reward systems being added in.
And there's a reason I stopped playing all the ones that are multiplayer. I'm of the
opinion that Modern Warfare, adding its meta progression system, which started all of this, made shooters worse.
What, the leveling up?
I liked shooters more before then, and in fact, I played them a lot before then, and pretty much stopped after that.
Yes, so did I.
Because it used to be like Halo 2, you have characters, you have maps, play game. And I played that game for years. And I had a great time. And I didn't need to level up or unlock a gold Uzi or put a Santa costume on or get a new emote or a funny new cartoon character pose. Or make my bullets blue. I didn't need to be paraded out the treasure chests every time I play a thing. I didn't need to beat a level and every time I beat a level have an experience bar fill up, then other kind of thing go up, and then also a currency thing, and then a chest that opens up for random prizes of who knows what it's going to be this time, and oh shit, there's a legendary beam of this time, that in which conditions you to both play more and pay more, and it just keeps making you loop and loop. I didn't need incentive. I just liked Halo 2 and it was a lot of fun, and so I played it every day, and it gave me no incentive to keep playing it, and I just loved it. And it was just fun because I played the game and the game was fun.
See, I guess I had the different mentality. I only played those games because my friends did. But the moment they stopped, I hated them. I hate playing Halo by myself multiplayer. I would never do it alone.
That's the most depressing shit.
I don't like shooters. I hate playing shooters alone. But you know what made me like doing it was I liked getting the loot boxes. I liked getting the levels up. But it made it more fun.
Oh no!
Because it's the reason why I like when I play WoW. I hate playing WoW with other people, but I like the fact that I get rewarded for playing by myself by being able to do things like I can just buy a mount and have fun looking at the
depressing shit to be literally I don't like this game, but if they add a thing where it goes ding and a number goes up every now and then I like the thing.
Yeah.
Oh no!
I mean, I don't have to pay money for that, so I don't care. It's just a feature. It's just okay, fine. You add a ding.
Where the fun comes from, though, at all.
But, no, I'm saying it's not fun to play alone. I don't get satisfaction from winning or losing in a match. There's nothing inherently great to me about it.
That's what the game is.
Yeah, and guess what? I can win and lose in life all the time, and guess what? It doesn't get any more interesting. It does. I win and lose every day of my fucking life, and I don't care if I win or lose a fucking Halo match. Why does that matter? Whenever I lose in a multiplayer match,
you just did the thing where you rip off your face and it's just I'm the reptile underneath and I was the villain all along.
I don't get it.
You had the option, you had the video game disc and the Skinner's box on a table together, and you push the disc off the table and you're yes.
I mean,
this is what I'm here for.
It's just because it makes
when it's all bare bones revealed to you and you're aware of it, you still instead of the revulsion people normally have, you're this is all I've ever wanted.
Yeah, I mean,
unlimited power.
Because the thing is that no one fucking plays I have almost no one to play games like Overwatch or multiplayer shooters. I basically have no one to play those games with. Playing by myself is literally worthless to me. Why would I ever do it? It's fucking boring. But
that's why I don't.
But playing, but
don't.
That's the thing.
If I don't like a game, I just don't play it.
Yeah, but I want to.
No amount of being ding. I didn't get hooked in when we played Realm Royale, and like it said I was a silver 4 or whatever. I didn't go like, oh shit, now I got to keep going. I got to become a silver 5, and I got to become a gold 1 or whatever the next thing is.
Yeah, I guess.
I was just playing the video game.
I mean,
in
the
fact, I didn't even notice the ranks existed till you guys were like complaining they were changing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's a rank? Huh. I was playing the Battle Royale game that's the same round every time and isn't affected by any of this anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the rank doesn't make Battle Royale more fun for me. Playing with people does.
Mm-hmm.
But like Overwatch is different because Overwatch I wanted to play because I liked the aesthetic. I liked how the characters looked. I like everything about it, minus the fact that I was forced to play multiplayer, which is it's not enjoyable for me. So the only way to make it enjoyable is if I'm working at something while playing it, which feels like it's a single player game. I'm working to gain my level, to gain boxes. I feel like I'm doing something. And it's something I can do by myself. I don't need other people to help me loot or like farm for boxes because I can do it all on my own just fine. But the moment I don't play Overwatch, the moment I run out of my weeklies and I run out of like the moment I get all the loot boxes for free for the week from arcade, I don't have a reason to play. So you'd be
like one of the Hearthstone players where you got your dailies and then you'd be like, this game is not worth this to me.
Yes.
All right. Well,
I mean,
we did it, Andrew. We did it. We accomplished our original goal of sit and discuss.
Which is what?
From 2011, which was to have like a debate channel.
Okay, I mean,
we had like one of our. This is like our most real debate we've ever had.
The thing is, like, it's at the end.
About 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Oh shit, we're way over.
Yep.
Hey everybody, goodbye. Thanks for watching. Send your questions in. We'll get to more of them probably. Stop asking us about games we don't care about. Even though we still talked about it for half an hour anyway.
Well, no, we talked about Overwatch for half an hour.
We got some more mileage out of Call of Duty than I meant to though. Send your questions in and so on. See you guys next time. Argue about the shit we said in the comments, and you can fight it out for hours on end. Hooray!
Hi, Shadow.
Tell us which company is the true Satan and whatnot. Tell us who won this epic rattle of history. Which is that channel's dead now. It's been gone for like 2 years.
It's not dead.
I just checked in one day. I was like, oh, it's gone.
No, they're just busy with other stuff.
That's what people say when the thing dies. Bye.
That's where your pet went.
Yeah. Epic rap battles went to the farm.